Look at this. This is a very little thing. I just did this last night, but it's like an example. If you remember before, if you remember before, this was just literally a box, but I got a little border around it now, and it looks. I think it looks better. I think it looks better, honestly. And I also got a little chat box up here as well, and I like the color. Very very Monster Energy drink. You know what I mean? Very very Monster Energy drink of it. So yeah, I mean, just like little things like this. And again, you could be like, oh, this is easy. This isn't like a lot of work. It's you barely done anything, and like that's the point. Like that's the mentality I'm trying to like get out of. That mentality of like, mm, that mentality of like this isn't enough. You know what I mean? Because there's never going to be enough if you take that route. I could say, oh, this border is all you did. Oh, this little chat box is all you did. That's not enough. Then it's like, what is enough? Because once you reach that enough, then it's like you're moving the goalpost even more, and you're never satisfied, and you're never okay with what you're doing. So I don't know. I'm just trying to like take those little things and not I'm just trying to take like the little things that I do and be proud of them here. So little borders for these. Cool. All right. Sorry to make this all into like some philosophical rant or whatever, but you follow me. You know that's what I do. That's my specialty. So yeah. So we got all this now. I really like this chat box, to be honest with you. It looks really good once things start coming in. But yeah. And oh, this looks really nice when we start watching videos. I'll show you. So you'll see. You'll see. I don't have to show you like right now because we'll get to that. But yeah. So aside from all that other shit that I was talking about, yeah, I wanted to talk about Aphex Twin today because we'll go back here for a sec. I want to talk about Aphex Twin today because of the fact that like I've been listening to a lot of his music again, and like I've been really thinking about how I want to do music, how I want my music to look, and how I want to approach it. And recently, and this goes back to the forcing myself to do things for the simple fact of like I'm forcing myself to to do them. You know what I mean? So going back to that, like for and I'm not in like I'm vacationing for 2 weeks. Not like I'm gonna totally get rid of this instinct, but it's like I've been working on music very very consistently, but it's been feeling like I need to force myself to do it. Um, and I kind of fall into the same routine, and I kind of just make music as kind of a chore. So I want music in my life. Like I don't fucking advertise all this shit and be annoying about my love of music because I don't want it in my life, right? Like I want it in my life, but I've just been conceptualizing how exactly I want that to look, instead of like forcing myself to do it. You know what I mean? And there's a certain how do I phrase this? There's a certain part of that that's like okay, the forcing yourself to do it. If you're very bad at keeping a consistent schedule, and very bad at like consistently, working on something that you love, then maybe you need to like schedule out like 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, to just like work on your craft and do that every single day. For me though, I feel like I'm very good at like making a schedule for myself and sticking to it. Um, but when it comes to like actually feeling what motivates me, that's not something that you can just like put on a schedule and have shit like that. Like I actually need like time off to actually conceptualize that and actually like feel where I'm naturally gravitated towards. So that's what I'm trying to do with my days off here. This is all to say I've been going back to like a lot of old music that I love, and like a lot of things that got me into music production to begin with, that got me into just making and loving music to begin with. And Aphex Twin, with just yeah, I'll talk about him more, but he's been just like one of the biggest inspirations to me as somebody who's like a primarily electronic producer. And I love the way he goes about ambient music. I love the way that he makes these like warbled tracks, warbled and distorted and just fucked up tracks, like sound accessible and sound like something that your brain is like constantly working for. Yeah, so I just needed that introduction to like put you into the headspace of where I'm at and why I wanted to share all this today and why I even care about it at all. Cause like normally on here you see me talk about like a bunch of new shit, and I think that's part of the reason why I sometimes feel I lose what got me interested in music in the first place, and why I lose what you know what motivated me. Cause I have a bad habit of getting very anxious about like not staying on top of music trends. I have a lot of anxiety about not being relevant. And I know that's stupid because it's like, how do you define relevant, right? And like, why does it even matter that much? It's just like I don't want to um I don't want to fall into the trap of like being an old person who's just like so disconnected from young people, who's so disconnected from what's going on in the world and living in their little bubble. So I'm always, especially since like I'm getting older, like I'm 24, I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but it's like I just don't want to be an older person who doesn't understand what's going on, like even at the basic level in pop culture and everything like that. I want to be connected in the world and not connected to the world and not fall into a fucking bubble like, a lot of boomers do, who think that just whatever you do in the 80s like is going to fucking work now. I don't want to fall into that position. So I have a lot of anxiety about that, and I have a lot of anxiety about always falling into that position. And it's not like I listen to new music out of anxiety. Like I genuinely love music, and I love trying to find new stuff. I'm just so hyper cognizant. I'm just so hyper aware of of how how like you can just fall into that boomer shit just so easily. And I don't want to be someone who falls into that, is all that I'm saying. I gotta get this webcam right. I'm trying to get it right because the little chat box up here, like my head is kind of touching a little bit. Still trying to work it out. I'm probably gonna have to move this up a little bit and make the alerts thing smaller. It looks fine now though. But yeah, I get so caught up into that, And I feel like, I don't know. It's, and you can call this weird, you can call it whatever you want, but like when I see like a bunch of young people talking about music, talking about an artist, I at least want to be like in tune with what they're talking about, even if I don't like know every single artist that they're talking about. I want to like at least have a knowledge of what what general musical movement they're talking about, or like general artists that they're referring to. I don't want to be disconnected from that. I don't want to be somebody who's like living in the year that like music was the best for them, and never like falling out from that and going on to fucking YouTube music videos and being like music was so much better back then, because it's like, no, that's bias. That's bias, because the time that you think that music was the best and that music was the thing, that was that's somebody's now. You know what I mean? So it's like it's all bias, and it's how our brains like attach ourselves to music. So again, this is just a long-winded way of saying I work very hard to try not to fall into that trap, and try to pay attention to like modern things that are going on. But the problem with that is I can lose touch with why I wanted to do music in the first place, which is why I'm going down like the Aphex Twin rabbit hole here, and why I'm going to talk about him today. I just did some Bernie Sanders shit. I apologize. The top. Okay, I'm not gonna do the Bernie voice, but I notice I do that sometimes when I'm talking. It's like very very politician-y. You know what I mean? Um, I find it, little like little money, little, yeah. Okay. So, we'll just do a little introduction to Aphex Twin. If you don't know who Aphex Twin is, you might recognize this particular song. This isn't like what he's known for, but this is his most popular song, like by a mile. Kanye sampled this for Blame Game. So many TV shows and so many movies have used this in their soundtrack, and yeah, you might recognize it. I can only play 30 seconds. Very very gorgeous song. Very gorgeous song. This was actually like when I started playing piano, this was one of the first songs that I wanted to learn. This is a very difficult song, by the way. Like if you're first getting into piano, don't pick this as your first one. But I really wanted to learn this and practiced a lot, and eventually I got it down. It's been a while since I've played it. I've forgotten like a lot of things, but I know like the simple theme and how to do that. But there are parts of the song that like get really fucking crazy. To play on a piano, like it all sounds very smooth and dreamy, and But once you actually get into the notes, it's very crazy, because there's there's a like movement towards the end where you're like jumping around fucking octaves everywhere, and you're also trying to like play the bass as well, and it's just like a lot to keep in your head. Like when you're playing piano, you need to be like of two minds at all time, like your bass hand and what's going on up top. Like, yeah, playing piano is can be rough, especially if you're doing things like this. Yeah. Even though I've been playing piano for like years, I still have trouble with this song. Yeah. But anyway, that's like the most famous song he's known for, and I love it very much. Um, However, like a lot of people who are in the electronic music scene know him for his ambient stuff like this. Well, not necessarily. This is one thing that he's known for, but this is like one of the things he's like most famous for outside of that one song. Again, sorry, I can only play like 30 seconds. But this is an amazing, like this is one of like this song right here, like even in the first 30 seconds, like one of the best like electronic music songs, compositions, however you want to call it. One of the best ever. Just like so dreamy, has such an innate sense of atmosphere, brings you to a place right away, and just makes you feel feelings that are only unique to like this genre of music. You know what I mean? So that's why I fucking love this guy so much. And as you'll see, like, and another reason why he became famous, or at least like well known, renowned among the like electronic musician community, is because like around this time, one of the like no nos of electronic music was like not putting your face on it, not like bringing attention to you. By the late '90s, that was totally different. But when he came about like 1992, all that, he wasn't putting his face on albums yet. That came around '96, but you can see like a distinct shift like after he did, where it suddenly became okay to do that. And you might recognize this. You might recognize this face. So yeah, so this was like the first album where like it had like a face of one of the techno producers on it, and it's like one of the, honestly, such a good album cover, just from the styling of the fucking weird ass smile and things like that. And yeah, oh no, actually the first one where he had his face on it was this one. So this was in yeah, this was just like his face stylized and shit. So yeah, so it's hard to like state the importance of him if you haven't like properly heard him before, but he's a very important figure in the electronic community. Like one of the most important. And I even like, just because I love his shit so much, I even made a holy shit, I even made a TikTok where I like slowed down his song Extra, which is his well, I got rid of it now, but that was the one that I played for you earlier. Let me turn this down. Holy shit. Okay, well, you're gonna have to turn it down your end. It's gonna be a little loud. I apologize. But yeah, so this is a TikTok that I made. And I'm not showing this to be like, oh wow, look how good I am, because this is kind of a shitty TikTok. It's more just to show like the type of worlds that this music can bring you into, and that's what I was trying to celebrate here. It wasn't about me at all, but Yeah, and I'm showing this because you can actually hear more of the original song. Oh, I slowed down, but it's a remix technically, so DMCA won't pick up on it. Like I could just listen to that shit for hours. For hours. Like yeah, it's just it's shit like this that reminds me why I love music, and I needed to go back, and I needed to like I needed to see all that just like for where I'm at right now, and just be reminded of that, cuz sometimes I fall into the trap of getting like just too far into modern music that I forget where I came from. That may sound weird, I don't know, but it's is where I'm at. But anyway, so another thing that I wanted to talk about, and that's what we're gonna watch. Is what we're gonna watch here. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about was the so Aphex Twin, he didn't come from like a city or anything like that. He came from like a small, like industrial town in Britain that has since like fallen to poverty and decay. And there's just one quote in here that I want to talk about. When we get to it, but it was just so interesting to see a look into a town like this, and to see how a music scene works in a town like this, because I currently live like in a small town. That's primarily where I've grown up. I would have liked to live in cities, but expensive. And yeah, this just really spoke to me. It's from the mid '90s, so a lot of things aren't the same, as we'll discuss. But I just found this super interesting. I don't know who John Peel. Actually, I'm gonna look up John Peel. Who is John Peel? Or was John Peel? Died in 2004. He was an English disc jockey, radio presenter, and hold on, I'm just saying. Okay, record producer and journalist. He was the longest serving of the original BBC Radio 1 DJs, broadcasting regularly from 1967 until his death in 2004. Okay, damn. So we're watching this like eight or so years before he died. Um but yeah, so this guy was a BBC um DJ, and always had his pulse on like what was going on in the music world, and tried to make documentaries that really that really tapped into that. So this is one of them. I don't know if this was like an I don't know where this was aired. I don't know the necessarily story behind this, especially it being the '90s. Might have been aired on BBC. I'm not entirely sure, but I found this so fascinating. We'll give it a watch. Very '90s intro.
Tonight's star prize, the Glue Man. I know that this is how I shall die, incidentally, is doing this, driving along at night, holding the cassette of to try and read the name of the band by the headlights of the car behind me, slap into the back of a lorry, and then people will say, he would have wanted to go this way. They'll be quite wrong. Of course, it's tapes like this, they actually do kind of fire interest, because the people who made it sound, frankly, unbalanced. We need more of that.
So all the tapes that he's like going through in his car and everything, all those tapes, they're just from like indie artists that he's found like going around the different small towns, sounds of the suburbs, like that type of shit. And what he said there, it sounds unbalanced. We need more of that. For the 90s, that was actually like a big thing. Like punk was seeing a resurgence in the 90s, and like a huge aspect of it was like the rawness of it and the shittiness of the recording, but like there was a certain emotion in that could only be encapsulated through that, because these were just oftentimes like working class people. And I mean that was the spirit of punk in a lot of ways. Like originally, like when it came out in the 70s, it was just like working class people who were like fucking tired of just like all the elitist shit that was in music, and yeah, it's just like if you've been to a music school or you've taken a music class, like that's the kind of thing that they're rebelling against. Just like that, just overly elitist fucking let's listen to this classical music type shit and be so separated from like the soul of music. And that's what a lot of people who were like doing punk originally, tried to get back. And yeah, like a lot of their mixes were unbalanced. Yeah, a lot of their things like sounded shitty. Yeah, like all of that is true. But there was a certain energy to it, and a certain just like fuck you attitude that like had the soul of music within it, that like just brought back that like primal instinct of just people fucking banging on rocks or whatever, and and like singing things in a drum circle. And yeah, it's really interesting, and especially now, where, and I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing. It's a thing, and it has its good sides and downsides. But the fact that pretty much anybody now has access to like a digital audio workstation and can record, their shit pretty cheaply, means that like that unprofessionalness, that kind of like gratingness to it, it's not as pronounced as it was before all these technologies became very cheap and very consumer friendly. And that's what he's trying to explore here in this documentary, just trying to like find those sounds that are just find those like raw sounds, and find like the spirit of music, not from people who are like doing music because it was like the thing they were meant to do and they went to music school for it and they're following the rules of music or whatever. No, it's like these are just people who just like feel music raw in their soul, and just the way they express it is like separated from music theory, is separated from. And I don't want to call like music theory elitist necessarily, because it's just like rules. It's just rules. But I don't know. Just like from a lot of like rich people that I've been around, going to music school, like a lot of times that elitist shit can come out when it's like, oh, have you heard classical composer number 567 from the 1700s? Like, no, I fucking haven't. Have you heard of Kendrick Lamar? Do you know who that is? And yeah, and I could see where like that punk spirit came from. and I respect it. So yeah, that's what he's trying to explore. He's like trying to find those sounds, because a lot of times, like the sounds that and even outside of punk, the sounds that end up like, you know, really influencing people and really moving music forward are not going to be found in like those elitist, you know, hotspots or whatever. They're going to be found in just people that are like separated from the music industry, like have no real ties to it, just doing their own thing. And as we'll see, that's where Aphex Twin came from, and that's where like a lot of these sounds that we hear that are new and innovative and just so fucking creative. That's where a lot of them are coming from. Like Bjork comes to mind. Like she was in the fucking middle of Iceland, and, you know, not really connected to like the greater music industry. I mean, she was famous, and she had to deal with all the shit that comes with that. But it's just like the environment that she recorded in, right? Like, you know, gave her a unique perspective on music and gave her a unique way to express what she was doing. And Sigur Rós, same thing. I think were they I think they were from Iceland too, actually. But I think of these examples because they're like separated from the music industry and doing crazy creative and cool things. Godspeed You Black Emperor is another one. As well. They were like living in Montreal, like very, very small and weird scene there. And like they weren't in New York trying to do pop music or anything like that. They were just on the outskirts, like doing their own thing, fucking taking a violin bow to guitars and trying to figure out what their music sounded like. And yeah, and that's why. And I assume, I don't know, I never met John Peel, but I assume that that's what, you know, Mr. Peel here is trying to accomplish with, you know, what he's doing too, just trying to find those sounds that aren't talked about, that, you know, will revolutionize music because they're just so separated from everything else, and they sound just so cool and away from everything. And yeah, yeah. Well, I have more to talk about on that later, but we'll just continue watching this.
Most of the music I like sounds pretty unbalanced, and that's what I'm going to be looking for in Cornwall, a county about as far away from the music industry as it's possible to get, in England anyway, and therefore particularly blessed. My memories of the one summer we spent in Cornwall are of a picture postcard world of sea and sunshine and outrageous tackles from behind from my dad as we played football on the beach. But when the armies of tourists retreat, Cornwall reveals itself to be the most impoverished county in Britain. Far away from the coast and bypassed by visitors, towns like Redruth and Camborne are isolated and economically destitute. In a county which relies on 6 frenzied weeks of tourism a year, they have nothing. Here, there is high unemployment and few opportunities for young people.
And see, that's a this town is very interesting. Because of the fact that, like, you know, as he was saying, 6 months out of the year, there is like a very strong tourist. It's a very strong tourist destination. So like a lot of bands hop up to feed that, you know, tourism that comes in. But like for the most part, this is a working class town with not a lot of opportunities. And you know, because of that, the people that do get into music are doing it like, you know, out of boredom and doing it out of like there's no other option for them. And I'll talk more, but there's a quote that I'm waiting for that I'm really gonna dive into, but I don't want to be the one to say it.
It was in Redruth that 2 of Cornwall's top toe tappers grew up. Richard D. James, otherwise known as Aphex Twin, and Luke Vibers.
There he is. I don't know who the other guy is.
This isn't at all what I mean, I hadn't really imagined anything, but... So what's that bit there?
That's where you put the decks.
And Luke Vibers. This isn't at all what I mean, I hadn't really imagined anything, but... So what's that bit there?
That's where you put the decks.
I'm gonna show you like a Aphex Twin interview after this, just to like just so you can really get the like, he's just a fucking troll and doesn't take music like too seriously, but it's also like the most serious thing in the world for him. And that's like, it's like how I try to see my music as well. That's why he can come out with like fucking beautiful just fucking pieces of electronic ambient music that just like bring me to another world. And in the same breath he can just like talk about there was, I don't know, there was like another song he made about like fucking somebody's mom and like just doesn't take himself seriously, but like, and I mean like he doesn't take the music like too seriously, but it's like the most serious thing in the world. And I just wanted to show you that because it's like, well, it makes me laugh, but it's an example of his humor.
This is Gwenyp Pit. In 1773, John Wesley, the father of Methodism, preached here to a congregation of 30,000. Wesley was the Aphex Twin of the 18th century. Discuss. Anti-establishment and radical, he also produced some excellent music, although it was hymns in his case, of course. Richard hasn't been back to Cornwall for 5 years.
I love it down here. It's like it's so peaceful.
That's Richard, by the way. Person in the front, Aphex Twin, just so you know.
But I know that after a while, it just that wears a bit thin, and you just get really bored and want to go and buy some records and go out and stuff.
Yes, I can understand the wanting to buy a record.
I did work in a record shop for about 3 years. I was a real fan of music, and just to be a bit bumlicky, I think your show definitely inspired me as well in lots of ways. Just the different sort of stuff.
Yeah. Sounds like a village around here. Actually, I think we drove through Bumlicky earlier.
We all used to tape it, I think, me and all my mates.
Yeah, so
even though it was illegal, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Tape it.
We'll sort that out later on. How did you start doing what you do here, if you see what I mean? I mean, what was it that was going on locally that inspired you to take up?
Nothing, basically. That's what made me do music, I reckon. Just because there was nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some music scene, but it's nothing that I was interested in. But it's just out of boredom, really, which is the best way to do music, I think.
That's the quote I wanted to talk about. That's the quote I wanted to talk about. I'll play that again.
Do music, I reckon. Just
what you do here, if you see what I mean. I mean, what was it that was going on locally that inspired you to take up?
Nothing, basically. That's what made me do music, I reckon. Just because there was nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some music scene, but it's nothing that I was interested in. But it's just out of boredom, really, which is the best way to do music, I think, when you've got nothing else to do.
The best way to do music when you got nothing else to do. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why, like, so many beautiful sounds, like, came from people like Aphex Twin because of that quote right there. He's, like, doing it just out of boredom. And he's, like, you know, playing around with sounds, and he's like digging inside himself to find something just really cool and really worthwhile and really interesting. He wasn't like going to some fancy music school and trying to fucking keep with the rules of music. He wasn't trying to like be a pop star or anything like that. He was just trying to like make music that was, you know, influenced by his environment and was influenced by just the way he sees music. And there are several commenters that like caught that link too, or caught that thing that he said too, and they were saying you don't get to be bored anymore. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that this is a good or bad thing. Just like when I talk about most things, you don't really get to be bored anymore, because with the internet, like any entertainment you could possibly want is at your fingertips, like at any moment. So any boredom that you have is eliminated. And that hasn't like killed music. That hasn't fucking made it so that nobody's making music anymore. No, it's just made it. It's just, I don't know. I'll speak from my experience. When I think about like what's going to entertain me, when I think about what's going to like, you know, give me stimulation and satisfy my boredom, the first thing I jump to is not music. It's not. Like, it sucks to say, And I hate that, but it's like the first thing I jump to is not music. Like, it might be video games, it might be a YouTube video, it might be some other things, but going and working on music is not the first thing that I jump to. And like maybe Richard obviously wasn't in a similar situation, like, but maybe like he had movies and stuff like that. I don't know, but I just know, like, as a musician, as an artistic person, like, being in an area like this. Well, okay, in the '90s, being in an area like this and having nothing to do but like having a love for music, you like you'll go in and you'll like play around and you'll like try out new things, and you'll make something beautiful that is maybe hasn't been made before, because you're coming from a purely like creative and like wanting to satisfy that boredom type place. Whereas for me, and what I was talking about earlier, why this quote like really fucking struck me is like when I think about making music now, I think about doing it for an hour. I think about doing it for an hour because I like music and I know I want to make music. But rarely do I take the time to like play around. And this could just be a me thing. Rarely do I take the time to just like play around with music. Rarely do I take the time to just like, I don't know, go on my piano and just like improv something. Go on my DAW and, try to make a synth out of like some weird things and make some cool and weird textures. Like a lot of times when I'm going to music, like it's because I know I want to work on music. I know I want to do it. And oftentimes like I go in there with the sole object of making a song, with the sole object of like making something, because I'm not bored. You know what I mean? There's the difference. Because I'm not bored. Because I know that, like, at any given moment, if I'm bored, I have hundreds of video games I could play. I have thousands upon thousands of YouTube videos I could watch at any moment. I could go on Netflix and watch any show I want. I could go on Spotify and fucking listen to any track I want. I'm not going to be bored. Boredom is not a thing. So yeah, and again, I'm not saying that this is a good or bad thing. It's a thing. Like tons of creative and cool music is still coming out like every single day. It's just that shift is different. And you could see it here, because like I don't think Richard, Aphex Twin, would be saying this if he was interviewed now. I don't think he would be saying he's doing music because he's bored. I don't think he'd be saying that, because he wouldn't be bored. Because he would have so many options at his disposal of what he could do at any given moment. And yeah, this quote struck me so much because it like really it really shows you how much the internet has like changed just the way we look at boredom and changed the way that we look at our hobbies. It's so fucking interesting. And what I want to take out of this is and I don't know how possible this is, like in the modern internet age we live in. But like I want to give myself more opportunities to just be bored. To just be bored. Not be like, "Oh, I'm bored right now. Let's fucking fill this with some hollow entertainment." I don't mean to use the word hollow, but like you know what I mean. Like instead of being like, "Oh, I'm bored. I gotta satisfy this immediately, and here's a phone here in which I can do that with." And I'm not gonna be like all anti fucking Luddite on you. Like I'm fucking streaming right now. Like I love technology. But it's just like when you hear things like this and you hear somebody like Richard talking about how being bored, the simple act of being bored, is what pushed him to make all this gorgeous music that I've heard. And like if you know Aphex Twin, like again, he doesn't take himself seriously. he doesn't take his music too seriously, but it's also the most important thing in the world. You know what I mean? I just, like, it's hard. It's like from that boredom, he was able to make those beautiful things because of the fact that he was able to just, like, play around. Because he was able to just play around. You know what I mean? Because, like, he didn't have the internet, but he had a synth, right? So it was like, I need to pass the time. Let's play around with this synth, right? And once he's playing around with the synth, it's like, oh shit, that's a really cool patch. I wonder if we do this, if we do this, if we do this, what's going to happen there? And then all of a sudden you got a song without, like, even meaning to do it. Yeah, hi V. Yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, V does this professionally. She's probably better to talk about this than me. But like I said, for me, it's just like when I conceptualize music, when I conceptualize working on it, so rarely do I give myself the time to just fucking play around with it. Because, like, I have other things that I can, like, play around with that are, like, designed to, what was that? V, did you just host me? If you did, thank you. I appreciate it. No, but like you get what I'm saying, right? Like, you get what I'm saying. Just that lack of boredom that we have. It's just what makes it so different from what Richard is talking about here in the 90s.
If it was boredom that made the Aphex Twin creative, he must have been a spectacularly bored guy.
Sing it if you know it.
Despite his
You want to
maverick
see
status,
World GIF? Okay, hold on. Did it not come up? That's obnoxious. All right. Hold on. Let me check that actually, because that's kind of that's kind of important if you didn't see the globe. Going back to this after that, little detour that we had there. Monka S. Yep. If I get a Monka S in the chat, if I could get a 1 in the chat, I don't know for what, but if I can just get a 1 in the chat because I like the number 1, I'd appreciate that. If you put a 2 in the chat, I'll fucking know. Okay? I swear, if I see any 2s in chat, it's your right. I probably won't do anything. Okay. So I'm just gonna back up a little bit here, so we can hear the conversation where this was coming from. Thank you for the 1V. Appreciate that. So, as you saw by the title, this is Cornwall, and Cornwall is a little British town that was is like a lot of industrial towns now, and that it's like very impoverished. Even in the 90s, very. Can I get some sit-ups from the streamer? Yeah. Is that good? I sat and I got up. Is that good? I hope that's good. Fucking yeah. So Cornwall, which is Vila and I have an inside joke, okay? Are you gaslighting me? I think she might be. Okay. So yeah, Cornwall, like at this point, like in the 90s, very, very impoverished town. And as they talk about earlier in the video, they only really, get, like, the tourism industry is their main industry. Like, people come during the summer to see, like, the water and all the views and things like that. So there's like kind of a music scene, but not really. A lot of people in the town feel very it's just like, I guess I'll speak for America. I think it's probably prevalent in Canada. It's probably prevalent everywhere. But it's just like when you go to small towns that have been like left behind by time, and all that's really left is like a bunch of working class people that feel like they're not really going anywhere with their life. Feel like nothing's really going on. This is the type of town Cornwall was. But as I sat here like I can't fucking see anything. As was talked about earlier, oh, I guess I do have to make this smaller. Hold on. Okay. As was talked about earlier in here, wait, can you not see what's going on? Are you gaslighting me right now? Are you gaslight gatekeeping and girl bossing me right now? Oh my god. What is going on? What is going on? I think I'm being gaslit, gatekept, and girl bossing. I think that's what's going on. Well, in the meantime, I think we need to stretch this out again. Danny just gaslighted the fuck out of us. I think that's what happened. I think we got. We got pretty good there. Yeah. Okay. Vila was talking to you like normal, but from my... Oh, okay. All right, but you can hear me now, right? You can hear me now, right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm going to say so. Okay, wait. So, I'm going to say something. Okay? Did you hear that? Did you hear what I said? So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say something, okay? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say something. Can you hear that? Can you hear what I said? She's like, do sit-ups. I'm like, fucking, how is she fucking with me? Did you do sit-ups, though? Yeah, I did. You saw me do sit-ups. Yeah. I did. Y'all are unhinged. And thank you for being unhinged. Thank you for being unhinged. Really appreciate your unhingedness. Okay, but it seems like everything is good now, and y'all just fucking with me. Okay, y'all aren't even talking to me anymore. You're not paying attention to me. Yes, mommy. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So like when you think of Cornwall, you think of a town like that, like one that's been left behind by time, left behind by industrialization, and that's where Aphex Twin is from, and that's what he's talking about. I don't know who the other guy is. I can look him up. Sorry, Soothe. No, you're fine. I want y'all to talk and chat amongst yourselves. I want y'all to have fun.
It's so peaceful, but I know that after
Richard hasn't been back to Cornwall for 5 years.
I love it down here. It's so peaceful, but I know that after a while that wears a bit thin, and you just get really bored and want to go and buy some records and go out and stuff.
Yes, I can understand the wanting to buy a record.
I did work in a record shop for about 3 years. I was a real fan of music, and just to be a bit bumlicky, I think your show definitely inspired me as well.
To be a bit bumlicky.
Just the different sort of stuff. Yeah.
Sounds like a village around here. Actually, I think we drove through Bumlicky earlier.
We all used to tape it, I think, me and all my mates.
Yeah, so
even though it was illegal, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Tape it.
We'll sort that out later on. How did you start doing what you do here, if you see what I mean? I mean, what was it that was going on locally?
No homo, right?
Nothing.
That's 100% homo. That is full homoerotic behavior, yeah.
Scene, but it's nothing that I was interested in. But it's just out of
this documentary, I believe, well, I mean, Aphex Twin was already a prominent figure, so judging by the video quality and judging by where he's like at, this is probably like 97, 98. I would guess. Um, yeah. And I mean, it has to be before 2004 because that's when John Peel died. He's no longer with us, which sucks because he seemed like a cool guy. But just gonna rewind it just a little
Inspired
bit.
you to take up?
Nothing, basically. That's what made me do music, I reckon. Just because there was
fact there
nothing
wasn't
else.
yeah.
I mean, there is some music scene, but it's nothing that I was interested in. But it's just out of boredom, really, which is the best way to do music, I think, when you've got nothing else
Boredom,
to do.
that's what I was ranting about. Yeah.
If it was boredom that made the Aphex Twin creative, he must have been a spectacularly bored guy.
Just a normal Tuesday night, am I right?
Despite his maverick status within the music industry, his record sales in the UK have nearly hit the 500,000 mark, and he's shifting units in America and Japan as well.
Okay, this has to be 98 or something like that because Come to Daddy came out in 97. But I think it was like late 97, so this has to be 98. Might even be 99, but I'm going to go with 98. You can probably look up John Peel's Sound of the Suburbs, but I'm pretty sure it's like 98. Yeah, no, I mean, the internet's like been around as like basic HTML pages since like 1993, but that's all that it was. It wasn't like now where like anytime you want like any form of entertainment ever, like you just go and find something on the internet. It was more like a library, you know what I mean? It was more like a library that like just stored a bunch of information in like simple HTML pages like around that time. Like around 98 where they are right now, like pictures started getting added, CSS started which is essentially just like the styling. And it looked a little better, but it still wasn't like how we conceptualize the internet today. There was no fucking streamers or anything. There was chat rooms, and we're gonna watch another video from Aphex Twin where he talks about how he fucking loves chat rooms, and this was in like 97, 98 too. So it's really crazy. But yeah, internet was around back then, but just not in the regard that it is now. Like not even close.
Cornwall's musicians rarely get a hearing nationally, so the Aphex Twins' success, together with the Reflex label he's set up, has inspired a new generation. If you hadn't got into music, what would you have done?
Well, my dad's...
And like honestly, that video by itself, even though it's like creepy and weird or whatever, it's like so fucking creative. It's like so fucking creative. And that just like came from his head, like came from his bored head, like being stuck out in the middle of nowhere and like wanting to see weird, creepy shit. And I'm not saying this could happen if you were like in a city at this time and like were stimulated and shit like that. But it's just like, it's so unique to him because of this like environment that he came from and this unique, unique boredom that he had. No, internet wasn't like now. My dad was into computers, and I was using computers from 93 on AOL chat rooms and making my own GeoCities pages. An English Countryside produces all the weird artists that we love. Kate Bush, Peter Gabriel, Bowie. English Countryside must be like a sensory deprivation tank. Yeah, I mean, it's not, and I mean, it's not just the English Countryside necessarily. I think it's just, but yeah, you're right. Like a lot of these like really creative artists are coming from just these places where they're like bored and have a lot of time to be stuck in their head and a lot of time to like really shape their visions of what they want it to be, where someone is like always around the music industry, like always has to talk to agents, always has to be like going to shows and shit like that. This Greenfield Bull is like a sensory deprivation tank. I actually really love this. This is actually like really beautiful. But yeah, no, you're right. I think it just has to do with, like Richard was saying, just fucking boredom and sensory deprivation, and it allows you to like explore and like do weird things and come out with something out the other end. You know what I mean? You just shit out some music, right?
So the Aphex Twin's success, together with the Reflex label he's set up, has inspired a new generation. If you hadn't got into music, what would you have done?
Well, my dad's a miner. I did a bit of work in the mines as well when I was when I was about 17 or something. That's where I got my first money to get my first equipment, really. So it sort of helped me out for music.
What was that? What was it like?
And see, that's the thing. Like, he's not coming from like a musical background. He's not coming from somebody whose like parents taught him music and he went to music school and everything like that. Like his dad was literally like, come work in the mine for some money. Was it because they were bored or because they were privileged, I wonder? Was Aphex working? Well, I mean, he definitely was like going to work in the mine. Like, he wasn't immensely privileged. Like, nobody immensely privileged is going to be living in Cornwall because there's like nothing for them there. Like maybe if you're taking advantage of the tourism industry for like 6 months out of the year, but that's it. That's the only time like money's coming into the town. I'd assume for like, I can't speak for people like Kate Bush and Bowie and shit like that. I don't know their background well enough, but I know like at least for Aphex, it seems like he wasn't really coming from like a super musical background. This was just like he really loved music. It was within him, and he just did it out of, boredom. No, he wasn't. But Kate Bush, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
It's so hot. It's really, really hot underground, and all the miners just walk around with like either pants on or just their belts and nothing else. They're just walking around in a nude, like really hard,
Strangely
Cornish miners.
primitive.
Yeah, with sort of shovels and stuff. I was well spun out.
The mine that Richard used to work in has long closed, but the evidence that Cornwall was once the centre of world tin production is everywhere you look. Hundreds of these chimneys once poured smoke over a heavily industrialised landscape. Paul Hodge, a Cornish poet, is taking me to see a relic of this past greatness, a mine stack that housed one of the largest steam pumping engines in the world. It touched me tight trousers. This just anchors the engine, right?
The cylinder would actually sit on these bedding blocks here. And you can see they're absolutely massive.
Certainly are.
Watch this guy. Just the way he says, absolutely massive. Like
The engine, right?
Hold
the
on.
cylinder would actually sit on these bedding blocks here. And you can see they're absolutely massive.
I don't know why that's so funny. I don't know why that's so fucking funny. He's just like so absolutely massive.
Certainly are, yeah.
He's just like, wow.
You would have had 3 floors. On the top floor, you would have had a giant beam or bulb, which would have pivoted on the 2 bearings at the top. This is a pumping engine. The smaller one through the window there.
I'm
is
in my
actually the
React
engine,
content phase, guys.
which
I
was
hope
used
you
for
enjoy.
winding stuff up and down the shaft.
God, there's stacks of them out there, aren't there?
Stacks of stacks.
Stacks of stacks.
This is all part of the great flat load.
Like this really just helps paint a picture of what like obviously Aphex Twin, but like people who were living in the British countryside like at this time were looking at, because like especially post Margaret Thatcher, like a lot of the fucking working class was left behind. A lot of the working class was left behind, but so many of the relics from the time when industrialization was still like the lifeblood of a lot of these towns like are remaining. So it kind of feels like a desolate shell. And at least in the US where I live, like I only live like 30 minutes away from a lot of these towns where you can see that. It's not as bad as like when you go into the industrial Midwest and you just see like rusty fucking factories everywhere and buildings falling apart. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Obviously the British countryside and the industrial Midwest are not exactly the same, but it has that same like broken industrial vibe of how the working class was kind of left behind. So there's like there's like kind of an edginess to it too, you know, because you're like living in a place that's been left behind. The government's not coming to help you. There's no fucking businesses that are like gonna come and save you. And, you know, it just kind of, while it can be beautiful at times, you know, just because you're living in a rural area and it's pretty and spacious and whatever, just like seeing all this, like that can be oppressive, and you gotta fight against that. A lot of people who are like raised in these environments, like, you know, can come out, you know, either really broken by that or really rough and hardened by that.
It's not your standard industrial landscape, is it, by any means?
No, and we're only, it's just, you know, to use a cliche, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All the real stuff is actually underground.
Paul has written a poem about this place in his native Cornish. It's a language that died out 100 years ago, but it's been revived in much the same way as I'm currently reviving East Anglia.
And like this place in particular is so fucking weird too, because like they got these like medieval rock castle type structures, you know, coexisting with these more like industrial structures as well, but it's like all falling apart too. So it's like a city that's like trying to modernize but doesn't have the money to do it, but still has like these beautiful relics in the past and like something to kind of take pride in. It's like it's really fascinating. I've lived in a lot of places like this. I didn't grow up particularly privileged. Obviously, I wasn't raised in Britain, in Cornwall, but just like this process of industrialization and what it does to these towns is really really interesting. And because of that, and I'm not saying like, you know, artists need to be in this situation to be real and genuine, but it's just like, no, when you're coming from this situation, it's like kind of a roughness to it, kind of like well, I have to make my own way type of thing. And I think that can contribute a lot to like making something new and interesting, because it's just like fuck everything, more of like a punk thing.
Pith Gelkneen.
And that's another thing, like a lot of people from the punk movement came from like working class backgrounds where they were just like left behind and sick of all the elitist institutions and sick of just like everything around them. So they just like, you know, brought it back to the fucking basics of just like, you know, playing simple chords, banging on things, and doing some drum circles, screaming and chanting and shit like that.
As we say in Stowmarket.
Heddys yw yn balio, na moiddo berry, heddiw diffethtir, maithra fleihas gwari. Peneglos yn stenecos da in misgaethin, penfenton nag yn greith, muraz rago meithrin.
Quite moving, quite moving. Mm-hmm. Is it specifically about this one place?
Specifically about this one stack, Peneglos and Stenec, Cathedral of the Tin Ground, because this is the great flat road, and these buildings are a bit like churches.
They're very like churches, yeah.
And the one we're in now is so fine, it's really a cathedral.
At the height of tin production.
And it's like falling apart too. Like nobody's coming and maintaining that.
30,000 Cornishmen worked underground. Now there's not one. This year saw the last working mine in Cornwall close down. Camborne was once, thanks to mining, the richest town in Britain. Today, it's one of the poorest. Paul took me to pay homage to...
I would read a book explaining why Thatcher is responsible for second wave punk. I mean, not directly responsible, but, like, you know, definitely a lot of her policies and how the working class got left behind by a lot of those, you know, definitely contributed to a lot of that rough feeling of, like, you know, fuck the government doesn't care about me, so.
One of his heroes, Richard Trevithick.
There's just something there, yeah.
Pioneer of steam locomotion.
The trouble is we have this nonsense.
Go on, then. Right, yeah.
Stevenson, who basically won a competition with 5 or 6 other people. This bloke invented the steam engine. Put it on wheels. He invented.
Again, is this a generally held view or just a Cornishman's view?
No.
I noticed that Trevithick dressed to the left of this statue is to be believed.
Well, yes. I think that may be a bit of artistic interpretation. But there he is.
Mick Jagger amongst engineers. It's just a sock, don't worry. Trevithick's manly profile and sturdy parts made me feel rather inadequate, and I decided to cheer myself up with a pint. At the pub, I met Helen Whitthread, who sings with the band In Watermelon Sugar.
Will end! The end of the world is nigh! It's nigh!
In Watermelon Sugar haven't got a record deal, but they've got a strong local following and are determined to keep Cornwall as a base, even if they do get some sort of break.
So again, just like every town, I mean, not all of it is going to be like a fucking musical mecca of creative stuff. Like, this band right here is a pretty standard one, like, as far as musically goes. But the lead singer of this, she actually says something that's it's really indicative of, you know, the place. You'll see.
Stranger, taking me deep into the stillness of the night where I am beyond redemption. There are some things outside, and the noise from the outside is suddenly inside, and I cannot hear the talking between Granger and Beacon. Does one aspect Ranger's taking me?
Sturdy pants, rar. Yeah.
So what's it like getting gigs around here then?
Very well, it's got easier. I mean, there is a gig circuit, there's a lot of live music, there are clubs, but the pubs are brilliant for live music. And we work about 3 nights a week. The only thing that is a disadvantage down here is that because there's very much a holiday trade, and you know, like summertime, you've got shitloads of money, you're going out there, you're partying, everybody's having a great time. Winter comes, like September, and you can feel the blues creeping in already, and there's like this October depression that like comes down on everybody when the money stops coming in and the sun goes out, and you know, and suddenly like everybody goes home and you're left with the same group of people that you're going to see every day, and you can walk your dog along the beach and like you might see one other person, and it closes in.
I would rather like that, but I can understand.
And what she said there, it's kind of indicative of like what a lot of working class musicians who like live in small towns because that's all they can afford. Like, that's the thing. Cornwall is kind of lucky because like they used to be one of the like, you know, biggest, most wealthy towns in Britain. So like there's that tourism aspect because people want to see the history, they want to see the beaches, they want to see like all these beautiful things. So it's very successful for them there. But you know, just for like a small town where well, they don't really have a lot of historical significance, really. They were just like an industrial town that kind of got left behind. If somebody wants to be a musician in that situation, like there's not really anything for them. There's not really any gigs. There's not really any sense of nightlife or anything like that. So that phenomenon, what she's talking about, like when October comes around, everything goes great. Like imagine that, but you know, for a musician in like a small town like that all the time. And you can say, oh, they can just drive to the city. Well, I mean, most of them have jobs and most of them have like all this other shit that they have to do, and they can't be doing like gigs all the fucking time. Those that do, you know, cool, absolutely, keep doing your fucking thing. But it's like it's hard in a lot of these working class towns to like make a reputation as a musician. You know what I mean? Richard was very lucky that a lot of his electronic music caught on in the way that it did, because you know, for every Aphex Twin that we get, and I've fucking seen it myself, like for every Aphex Twin that we get, there's like maybe 20 more people who like put music together, and then it never went anywhere because they didn't have connections and they didn't have a way into the music industry that people did. So Richard is very lucky in that respect, because like a lot of people come from places like this, even if they love music, nothing is really going to become of it unless you're very lucky. I'm very thankful that we have the internet. Like I was talking about the internet and how it eliminates boredom, and that's a thing. But something that I love about the internet is that it equalizes the playing field for a lot of people. So you don't necessarily have to be like in a in a fucking big city, like playing the big circuits or whatever the fuck. You don't have to do like the conventional way in order to get your music out now. Like you can make stuff on YouTube. You can post TikToks. You can stream. You can do a bunch of shit. And the internet is like the great equalizer. And I love it for that. I love it for that. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the person that I am if it wasn't for the internet. I wasn't like I didn't grow up very privileged, and like I don't know if I would have like started to learn music. I don't know if I would have like the love for music that I do. I don't know if I would have like all these things if it wasn't for the internet and allowing me to like look that up freely and like, you know, educate myself and like find out a lot of these things that like maybe in the 90s would have been, you know, gate kept behind big venues and big record stores and shit like that. So I'm thankful for that aspect of it like every single day.
But if you haven't got any money at the same time, then it's not so much fun.
No, it's up to you very much to amuse yourself. I think you've got to be quite a strong, self-sufficient person creatively.
Cornwall's flourishing live music scene owes a lot to bands like In Watermelon Sugar. Playing night after night on the pub gig circuit, they keep the audiences rolling in.
We'll watch episode 2. Oh, is it not showing up? Oh, it's right here. It's right here. Yeah, it starts to like drift off of Aphex Twin a little bit, but I find him so interesting, in large part because of like this environment and like talking about this environment. Like it gives you more context and it gives you more appreciation for musicians like this who can come from a place like this and make something out of it. You know what I mean? This is so fucking 90s. Jesus Christ.
If you think about it, Cornwall is almost entirely surrounded by water.
Internet equalizes art for sure, but that's why it gets flooded with content. As you know, without a good algorithm on your side, you can create the art, but it can be paradoxically more difficult for other people to find it. Hold on. I'm going to go into scene mode for that. I got thoughts on that. You are right that a lot of our shit is controlled by algorithms, right? But in terms of getting out there and in terms of like actually getting an audience, like it comes down to making friends. You know what I mean? It comes down to making friends because you can't necessarily rely on an algorithm. You can't necessarily rely on YouTube to push your shit to the top. You can't necessarily rely on TikTok to push your shit to the top. Although it's nice and it can bring in some viewers, it's not something you can rely on. But what the internet is great at is allowing you to meet just such a wide variety of people from everywhere and then, you know, building up something that way. 'Cause to be frank, I don't know how many of you in the chat like have listened to my music and know me from my music. Like a lot of you know me because of the fact that I've been in like other chats of people that I love and I love you guys as well. And just, you know, going in there, chatting and making friends and then building something up organically from there. And I think there's just too much of an emphasis on general of like trying to get your YouTube content viral, trying to get your TikTok content viral, where like here's the thing. You could go on to like somebody who got like famous back in 2014, you know what I mean? And like nobody cares about them, nobody talks about them anymore. But it's the people who like constantly invested in like making friends and constantly invested on like, you know, making their fans feel like a part of a community that like keeps them around, that lets them have that longevity. And that's why I love the internet, the ability that it gives you to do that. Because like if you're in a town like Cornwall, like they're talking about, there may only be like fucking one other person, right? There may be like one other person that like vibes on your wavelength, that understands what you're saying and wants to support you. Like maybe one, if you're lucky, right? But the internet, like it allows you to find like-minded people, very quickly. And like a lot of the most successful, well, a good number of the successful musicians I know didn't necessarily get there because they got lucky on the TikTok algorithm or something like that. That's very rare. And the ones that like continued success after that took the fan base that they had and nourished it. Like that's the main thing. Like nourishing your fan base and just like being a friend and just generally being a good person. Like a lot of people who would have been out of the music industry years ago like are still in it and are still making stuff because they're friends with a lot of people in the industry. And they're just friends and good human beings and like good to work with. Like you could have a famous song in like 2001 or whatever, but that's not going to mean shit 10 years down the line when everybody's forgotten about you. But also you're not able to work with anybody because you've been an asshole to everybody you met. So yeah. What did you say? Yes, viral is gone in a flash, and what used to be 15 minutes of fame turned to 15 seconds in a TikTok compilation. Oh my god, I'm totally listening, but I just noticed on full screen that there's a person in your back. What are you talking about? I don't know why you keep saying there's a person in the background. Nothing there. Yeah, no, it's just like so much fucking marketing is around like virality, how to hack the algorithm, how to get things like in front of a lot of people, but it's like, okay, sure, but like much more importantly, what are you gonna do with those people like once you get them? You know what I mean? Like, and another thing is like if you do it that way, like you can't control the people that roll in. And I mean, there's always going to be some aspect to that, right? But if you got famous from just like going viral on one thing, but you didn't have any like connection to your fans and like the people around you prior, then there's going to be like an uneasy, tense relationship with your viewers because like there's 10,000 people there or whatever. You don't know any of them. You can't relate to any of them, and it's hard to like make a friendship, a connection with a like single one of them because like there's so many of them. Not to say it's like impossible, but I don't know. I just like for building like a fan base or like growing whatever you have organically, like the internet just gives us tools that were never available when this documentary was going on. And that's all I'm saying. And like I've said before, the most successful bands are the ones that like have a strong personality behind them and really just like give to their fan base and just like constantly, keep them engaged. Keep them engaged. I mean, I'm fucking 3-viewer Andy over here, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But like as far as artists that I've seen that have like actually made a good living for themselves and like a sustainable one, like they weren't concerned with virality as much as they were concerned with just maintaining what they have. And virality is nice; it allows them to grow the amount of people that are listening to them. But just working with that. You're right for sure. Without a relationship with your fans and follow up after going viral, the internet forgets. And yeah, that's another thing. Like you were saying, like 15 minutes of fame has turned to like 15 seconds of fame because of TikTok. People constantly have content being bombarded at them like constantly. But the one consistent that has remained because like we're still human beings, that part of us hasn't disappeared. The one constant that has remained is that need for like human connection. that need to feel like you're actually connecting with someone. So that's why, if you have a Discord server, if you're like hanging out with your fans after shows, if you like, I don't know, do like very raw Q&As and shit like that. And like obviously that can fall into like parasocial relationship territory, but like that just comes with what you're doing. Like if you want to be just like very cynical about it and like very numbers oriented about it, like that's how you're gonna keep the most number of of people watching, because like it's an innate human need to like want to connect with people. You know what I mean? Like entertaining is like entertainment is just like coming and going. It's just like satisfying that surface level boredom. You know what I mean? But if you're like actually making a connection with somebody, if you like actually know them, if you have like actually talked with them, or like even if you haven't, even if you like know their life story and shit like that, but they don't necessarily know you, that's still like making a connection, and that's like much more important than any type of virality, like in terms of keeping. And I hate saying fan base, because like when I talk about my, like, a lot of you are friends in here, and I don't want to like boil you down to like a fan base, but like in terms of communicating the message, preach, thank you. In terms of communicating the message, it's like the people who follow you can go anywhere else. They can go fucking anywhere else, right? Like they have thousands of other videos that they can watch at any given moment. But if they're invested in you as a person, if they like you as a person, and they want to see you succeed as a person and as an artist, then that's what you want to go for. I hate using fan base too. I always say listeners, because it's the listeners who actually care. I might adopt that. I might adopt that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't, like, it'd be nice if more people were listening to me. Like, yeah, sure, give me that Spotify money. But like with anybody who like takes the time to follow me and takes the time to engage in what I do, like I want to know about them. I want to know, like, hey, you know, what are you up to? Like, why are you interested in this? Like, what brought you here? And yeah, I just wanna make friends with people. Unless you're like a racist, homophobe, sexist piece of shit or something like that, then I'll embarrass you in here. Is what I'll do. There's no middle ground. I might steal that though. Vila, listeners. I have to say, V, that when you weren't able to release music, I would go back and watch the Q&A and cosplay vids again. Totally proves this point. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like if Vila hadn't been so, nice to me, like if we haven't, had fun conversations and just like fucked around in her Discord server or whatever, if I had just like known her for her music, like she probably wouldn't be in here talking to me, and I probably wouldn't be in here talking to her. You know what I mean? Danny, I would die for you. See, look at this. Look at this loyalty in the chat right here. Look at this loyalty. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, so many people just fucking focus on virality. And I mean, that's nice. Like, sure, you have people looking at you, but what are you going to do with that? Like, and also, I've seen people fucking get famous through like getting viral, right? And then they get so depressed and then so crushed when the views, viewer count on their streams, on their videos, whatever the fuck, is like, 1/20th, 1/30th of the shit that was on their viral hit. Like they get depressed. Okay. I will be here. They get depressed when it's like, no. Like, that's what it is. That's the situation. Like, sure, you got viral and you had people looking at you, but if you're not like actively trying to see your listeners as people and you're not actively trying to communicate with them, then you can't be surprised when, your fucking stream, TikTok, whatever, that got like 1 million views, like, 2 years later, you're suddenly maybe pulling like 50 people a stream or whatever. I mean, if you do it right, you could probably have more people than that, but it's just like virality isn't the end goal, but it is nice. It is nice. Can you? So I'm trying to figure out how long to leave these chat comments up in here for. I currently have this set to 90 seconds, and it looks and since like I don't have chat going all the time, it kind of just stays up for a little bit. Does that feel weird to people, or is it fine? Like you don't even, like, it's gone now, but does that feel weird for people? Like, does it stay up a little bit too long? I just need to, like, before it was disappearing like way too fast. It was like up for 5 seconds and then it was gone, which is fine if you're a huge streamer and your fucking chat is going like that. I'm just curious how it looks from a viewer perspective to have that up there for that long. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine, but I'm just curious. I also want to make sure the alerts are working too. Hold on. Okay, the alerts are working. So I am now following. Great. I didn't check that, but they seem to be fine. So let's go back to this, yeah? Let's go back to this. Rant over. For probably the next 5 minutes.
This island geography gives the people here a strong sense of isolation. They accommodate the eccentric and the unusual because Cornwall is far enough away from it all for it not to matter. David Kemp looked hard at this landscape and the unusual. If you think about it, Cornwall is almost entirely surrounded by water. This island geography gives the people here a strong sense of isolation. They accommodate the eccentric and the unusual because Cornwall is far enough away from it all for it not to matter.
And that's an important thing too, right? Like when you're surrounded by people all the time, when you're surrounded by people's judgment, people's whatever the fuck, you won't like delve into the super, super weird shit that you might if you were, kind of isolated and just allowed to do what you want. Like you even think about like living in an apartment, right? Like nobody knows what you're doing in there, but say you're like trying to make music or whatever, and like you want some like kind of strange sounding vocals on it. You want to do strange things with your vocals. You're going to be kind of self-conscious of it because you're like living next to people and you got to like be cognizant of the people that you're affecting and whatnot. Obviously, if you're rich and you can afford studio time, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But I'm just talking about like average people who are like trying to make music. And this is like a very important point because it really feeds into that, unique and eccentric nature because of what he's saying.
David Kemp looked hard at this landscape and discovered more than beautiful scenery. He found junk. Like an archaeologist from the future, he invents myths to explain the objects he finds. That's the sort of introduction that would have most viewers heading off to start a new life in Latin America. But it's true.
Whoa. Priceless relics. But of course, to those of you from the 20th century, you'll recognise the components. I mean, this is actually a paraffin stove.
No, I mean, this isn't my type of art necessarily. I appreciate that they're like recycling stuff. But like I have to acknowledge, like this is creative what he's doing with it.
The other way up, and this here is a car headlight, car gaskets, late Iron Age car burial, and the horns, of course, are
And they sound like toy trumpets, I guess.
Yeah, they are horns. No, they are for a lorry. They're actually, the horns are
Oh, of
horns.
course they are, yeah.
That's the early period. This is the late period.
Yes.
And they found a way of sending minute particles of information faster than the speed of light by then. So consequently, information arrived before it had been sent.
Right.
And that bailed them out. This is a god dolly from the late period, you know. They used... no, I can only get Vivaldi on it, actually.
I'm beginning to wonder if there's some kind of artistic centrifuge.
You can see a lot of this too in fuck, what was it? It was I want to say Venice Beach. It's somewhere like off the coasts of California and like even Louisiana. Like when I was in Louisiana, there were like a lot of people making art out of trash and things like that, and it was really crazy. Like it's not like this is not really my style. Yeah, I don't like rusty things too much, but I appreciate that they're recycling it. He's making Hollow Knight masks, basically. Yeah, but it's the thing. Like isolated from greater society, you can do creative, weird things like make trash art like this.
That flings our most creative minds to the furthest.
Is that a dick? This just maybe just my mind's fucked up. Is that a dick? We're just gonna leave that.
British Isles.
Well, this is a hodgepodge of stuff in here. Shall I make us a cup of tea?
This looks as though it has some kind of Indian...
this piece here,
the feathers.
It's not part of the logic, but that is... I make lots of things out of old musical instruments. So this one's called... it's a heavy harness for a light romantic. The thing is, I think that for...
Okay, that's actually really cool, though. That's actually really cool. Taking the fucking piano keys and using them to make accents for the wings.
All of us who live down
that is really fucking cool.
here, you're out in the landscape a lot. You have to make your own sense of the world about you. And though we all have got a television and a radio, and it all does come in here and here, we are almost far enough away to be looking at it from the side. We have a kind of periphery view and a sidelong view of what's going on.
You must,
look
in
at that
addition to
puppy.
everything else, it must be actually some great fun.
It's a nose and a dick. I mean, what's the difference, right?
Oh, yeah. There's not a lot of money in it.
No, riches beyond the dreams of avarice.
Exactly, yeah. I'll make some tea for us.
Yeah, OK.
David Kemp has physically reassembled his environment to create his vision of a post-industrial world. Others living here are equally influenced by this powerful landscape, but it may have a less obvious effect on their work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, this obviously is Britain and not Iceland, but I'm just thinking of like Bjork, who like in a lot of her interviews said that like the landscape that she lives in has a huge impact on how she makes her music because of the fact that nature is really important to her, and like being in a beautiful natural environment like Iceland has shaped her, and like she wanted to make a sound that like encapsulated that, and you can see that like in full display on what is it? I need to know what those albums were. There's the one in 1997 and the one in 2001. I think it was Volnik. No, that was the 2015 one, wasn't it? Bjork albums. Oh yeah, Homogenic and Vespertine. Like you can see it a lot on there. Especially on Homogenic. She went into that project being like, I want to make the sound of Iceland. And like the way that she combines very natural instrumentation with more glacial sounding synths and stuff like that is just the way of communicating that.
A few miles along the coast from David, the unsigned band Blue practice in a shack on the cliffs.
They both catch colds and make little sneezes. I mean, you're not wrong.
That's really good. I look forward to tonight's gig, that's for sure.
Hi, welcome back, B. We missed you very dearly. Danny started crying. Like, Danny started sobbing in the chat. She was crying out to me, where's Vila, where's Vila, where's Vila? I can't be in the chat without Vila, where's Vila? I was crying too. Like, you can rewind the vid. Or you can rewind the VOD. I was sobbing. Vespertine sounded like snow falling. Homogenic sounded like a metal orgy, and it's my favorite. That's a great fucking description of that. I love that a lot. I love that a lot.
We're going to come and see you play tonight, that's right, isn't it? It's,
first gig since last summer, I think.
yeah?
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We've just been writing songs for the last few months, you know. We've just not played any gigs, we've just been writing songs and preparing for tonight.
When the bands step out of their back door, the only entertainment on hand is the countryside. And the only way to survive being stuck in the middle of nowhere is to learn to love it. We're heading to Cannes,
Yeah, go ahead, rewind
an
it.
ancient stone outcrop, where the boys in blue come when they need a blast of fresh air.
One night a year at midnight, there's a battle right here between two demons. And the devil himself is sat there, acting as a referee, I suppose.
Yeah.
And this would be a sea of people watching the battle.
All right.
And that's about...
Which night is this supposed to happen?
I'm not sure, because I've not seen it yet.
But you have expectations of doing so? one of
Yeah,
these days?
yeah. Well, I walk back from practice most nights over the moors, you know, and I've never seen anything going on. But when I do,
Must be spooky, though, isn't it?
yeah. Every time I do get home at night, I feel like a hero by the time I'm in my kitchen. Yeah.
So, give us the history of Blue, then.
Right. Well, we were playing since we were about 12 or 13, playing sort of.
These are kind of boring white guys. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna skip past them because. So they essentially talk about how like being here has like made their music making process a lot more calm, and they eventually did move to like a city and shit like that. They weren't like as influenced by their environment. They were like more of a I hate the small town, we're gonna get out of here type shit. So we've seen that before.
I arrived just in time to see the support band, a local thrash metal group called Bogfiller. This heartwarming piece is called Creatures of the Deep, and it's inspired by the lead singer's surfing exploits.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go.
The St Just Youth Club's £1 entrance fee was well worth it, just for the chance to see Bogfiller. I'd have paid £1.25, no questions asked. To get Blue thrown in for the...
That would have been pretty sick to see. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead a little bit.
Feeling ever so fragile...
We're gonna watch an Aphex Twin interview after this. It's one of my favorite things. It's so funny. It's so funny. We're just gonna finish this up, then we're gonna watch that. It's so funny.
After last night's headbanging, I was struggling with some particularly bright winter sunshine. I'm going to meet Matt Jones, a musician and friend of Aphex Twins. He suggested a brisk walk, and we're going to the local power station to sample some sounds for Matt to use in his music.
So you hear that? He's going to the local power station to like sample stuff for his music. Like that type of just weird creative shit that you're getting out here.
This is where we used to come and chill out. It's just sort of in the times when we were into smoking. Just used to come up here and have a crafty one or two. But then I just got really into the sound, so I used to come.
Bogfiller, that's like calling your band toilet shit. It's amazing.
On my own.
Did you just sit and listen to it?
Yeah. Just used to sit at the bottom. That one there. Oh.
If you really want to have some fun, Danny, you can look up grindcore band names. Or not.
Check that.
It's up
That's
to you.
Really techno. Takes the moon. It's really fun.
Oh, that is, yes.
Totally sci-fi.
That's fantastic. can see that if you're a bit out of your head, they have a profound effect on your...
Totally.
Remember when Trump said windmills cause cancer, so we have to keep pumping more coal into the sky? That's it.
I think I'd rather want one for the garden.
But when you stand like 10 foot away, that's when you just get the sounds.
I love
Not there.
CO2.
Yeah, that is decent. You just find these weird little spots where different sounds carried, and suddenly you just get all that.
And so this guy here, I forget his name. I'm not listening. I'm a bad listener. This guy is a friend of Aphex Twin, and like that's the thing. When him and Aphex were like making music, like, you know, late 80s, early 90s, even now, like late 90s around this time, like, you know, they were just like, I mean, they were doing like a lot of sampling, whether it be like sampling a sound of a windmill, sampling the sound of like cows and shit. And then they would take that and then they would manipulate it into just the just powerful fucking soundscapes that you hear on a lot of their stuff. And because it like came from a place like this, it has such a unique and almost spiritual timbre to it. It's hard to describe, but it feels like the music of somebody who like has a beautiful environment around them to look at. Well, beautiful in places because there's like decrepit industrial buildings here too, but like the parts that like, you know, look scenic.
Yeah, I can very much see the appeal of these.
Yeah, do King Tut.
Shall I give you my Bill Clinton?
It isn't just the windmills that inspire Matt. His home and workplace also influence the kind of music he writes.
I've always wanted to have a caravan. Sheila, my wife, has got this thing against caravans and she won't let me have one.
Oh, this is the fucking dream right here. Just to like have like a little studio just like out in the country that's like separated from everything, where I can go and just like not be on the internet, not be anything. Like I was talking about earlier, like eliminating that boredom so that you can just like play around with fucking music for once instead of, you know, having the internet at hand and like seeing music as a job. I don't know. I just really like this shit in general. Like I really love beautiful rural places, and I would probably be a farmer in another life.
I reckon they're great.
Hello there.
That's what I used to look at when I used to do music.
Fantastic.
And just to have a cow watching you the whole time, judging your every decision. Phineas samples shit like Japanese crosswalk sounds and monkeys screaming, or people are like, whoa, but everything has been done. Doesn't make his work worse, but just... Yeah, no, I love Phineas and the approaches he takes with his music. He does like a lot of fucking interesting things. I love Phineas as a producer a lot. And again, I'm not saying that like because he was raised in more suburban, urban environment. I'm not saying if you're raised in that environment, like you can't sample weird shit and you can't do weird shit. And, like everything that comes out of a city is like bad. Of course not. Like cities are cultural centers for a reason. I'm just saying, like for people that are raised in this environment, like the way they go about music is like they still put it together like somebody. Like anybody would put together music, but just like in terms of the inspiration that they take from, in terms of like the sonic palette that it calls out to them, in terms of all of that, it makes for a much different experience. These artists all have silence in common. I like that. I like that a lot. I say as I keep fucking talking. Yeah, they all have silence in common, and yeah, and that allows like a lot more cerebral work. You know what I mean? Like for Aphex Twin especially, like a lot of his stuff is not fucking meant to be played in the clubs and like shaking your ass to. I guess you could. Nothing stopping you, but like as much as like I hate the term because it's so fucking elitist, like there's a reason why he's under the IDM category, intelligent dance music category, because his music is like very cerebral and is very interested in like making vivid pictures in your head, or like challenging your brain and making it work for it.
Yeah, all my stuff is set up here.
But they all have silence in common. I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's just mad.
Also, were they classically trained? I'm going to guess no. Seems like conservatories would. I mean, if you're coming from a working class environment like Cornwall, what money do you have to be classically trained? You know what I mean? Like that's what I was saying earlier, and that's why I like a lot of these. That's why a lot of these like recording techniques are very, very punk in nature. Because like, it's not that they're rebelling against the like establishment, not necessarily, although a lot would. It's just more like a lot of the fucking traditional conservatory stuff was very much gated off for them. So they had to like come up with their own unique way to create the sounds that they had in their head and that they were seeing. Like, I imagine a lot of them, went to learn music theory down the line to better communicate their ideas. I think every musician like should at least understand that to some extent at some point. But yeah, I imagine a lot of them weren't. Like, if they're coming from Cornwall, because Cornwall is like they said, at this time it was the poorest town in Britain.
You get really sort of old school drums.
Matt produces some original music in his caravan and has released a CD on Aphex Twin's Reflex label.
The atmosphere, and there's something able to look out of the window, see a field full of cattle and things rather different looking out of your window.
What's theory?
Cars and
beats
trucks.
me. I don't know.
Definitely.
Must affect you.
Yeah. I mean, so many times I'd be facing that.
I'm gonna go through that again because Vila loves cows.
The atmosphere, and there's something able to look out of the window, see a field full of cattle and things rather different.
See that, Vila? Do you see that?
Looking out of you.
Look at those fucking cuties. Look at those fucking cuties. They might have access through scholarships, maybe? That's it, right? Yeah, they had a DOI. I mean, it's hard to, like, know for every single person, but just, like, taking the archetype of somebody who would be in this place, like, they're typically not going to have money for a music school. They're typically not going to have money for private lessons and shit like that a more fortunate family would. And again, I'm not making any statement about whether or not that's good or bad, that's better or worse. It just is what it is, and it impacts the music and makes it feel a lot more weird, a lot more punk. Whittle Moo-Moos. Exactly, look at him. So fucking cute. Let's watch him again.
His Reflex label.
The atmosphere, and there's something able to look out of the window, see a field full of cattle and things rather different.
Look at him. This one's about to smell the other's butt.
Definitely.
They're about to get in there. Look at that.
Yeah.
There we go.
So many times I'd be facing that way doing the music, getting everything together, and you look out and you've been going for like 10 hours and you've got 20 cows outside just looking at you sort of going, are you mad?
I think you just, for the record, you should explain what your function was at the...
I love how cows always have that look on their face, like, what the fuck? Just towards everything. What the fuck? Wait, what is this? Excuse me? Like...
The Fuji Rock Festival.
Very cute. Very cute.
Other places.
I was dancing in a massive 8.5-foot teddy bear suit, fluorescent orange one.
One of those things which always delights me, LL Cool J used to have a bloke whose job it was to scamper around on all fours when LL Cool J was on stage, pointing at his willy. And you always thought, like, when he laid him off, you thought when he go to the...
I gotta start using the word willy. It's like it's a lot funnier than dick. Dick just feels like a little bit too much of like a punch phonetically, you know what I mean? Like Willy, it's just like You're just like pointing at someone's willy and laughing at it, and like, you know, it's just a little willy. Whereas like dick, cock, it gives too much power to it when it really shouldn't. And that's why the patriarchy still exists, because of our language that we use. It's an appropriate response to life, really. Yeah.
The job, to go to the job club, as it were. So, what were you doing previously? Well, I was a kind of, willy pointer, really.
Willy
skills.
Job skills.
Yeah, I gotta start using the word willy. I think it's my homework after this stream, yeah.
Before starting on the 7-hour drive home, I've got one final treat in store. Fleming Pulse have invited me to celebrate the pagan festival of Imbolc, welcoming spring, at a time when I'd rather be celebrating the festival of Taj Mahal, welcoming a mushroom biryani.
Yeah, I mean, Peter's good. It's just like
some trepidation that I went.
It's just like phonetically, it's like Peter. It still has that t on it, and like gives it too much power. But Willie, it's just like that. Your Willie. It doesn't have that like hard consonant to it. We shouldn't give the penis more power than it already has, is what I'm saying. That hard sound is force and volume, and that's non-accident. Willy rhymes with silly because it is. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And penis, it's like penis is too boring. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna catch on like Willy would. You know what I mean? Our language is very important. Hard. See, hard has the d on the end. It's interesting to see other cultures other than like white people in a town like this. This is part of what makes Cornwall unique because of their like the tourism that they get. It like it brings some culture to the town. But for the most part, like they said, this is still like a very poor working class town.
Standing rather self-consciously, but attractively, in the corner of the barn, I realised that what was going on here summed up my haphazard journey around South Cornwall. The people I've met seem to have been liberated from the need to conform. The remoteness doesn't make life easy, but it does seem to make it unorthodox.
Yeah, you summed up what I was saying perfectly, yeah.
I bet some of you thought you could see a dancing rhinoceros in there. That's what Cornwall does to you.
Okay, that's the end of it. R.I.P. John Peel. Seems to be a pretty cool guy. But yeah, I'm sure there's more episodes of this. Yeah, South Wales is another one we could watch. I'm not going to watch that right now, but if this is something that, interests you and you want to hear more about this, I might actually watch this later. Because this is so fucking interesting to see music from this perspective. But yeah, so this was a jumping off point for Aphex Twin, and then it went into other things. But yeah, I wanna show you. I want to show you the most 1990 fucking 7 interview I've ever seen. Hold on. Yeah, I spelled interview wrong. Shut up. 1996 interview. This is amazing.
So, welcome to Big Love 96.
The reason, so I was talking about earlier how like Aphex Twin is such an inspiration for me, not just because of like the environment he came from. Like I've lived in environments that have been similar to him. Like I was never raised in a city. I was never like that urban, like always raised in more like rural suburban areas, so I like really relate to that. But I also just love his fucking sense of humor, and like I said again, how music is both simultaneously not that serious but also like the most serious thing in the world. Like, he has songs in his catalog that are like the most beautiful, atmospheric, just like mind shifting stuff that you can listen to. And he also has songs about fucking somebody's mom. So I don't remember the name of that one. I had to look that up. I think it was Blue something, but yeah.
Been playing exclusively now. I've been watching
A lot of
out
sexual
there. It's
tension
insane,
in this
by the way.
interview,
It was
by the way.
upstairs, one stage, a bit more
Sorry if heterosexual sexual tension makes you uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable too.
lively than they are now. And I was trying to watch it, and I had to walk away after a while because the strobes were just so intense. Is that like that for you on stage as well, or you just don't see it? It's all out there.
No, I'm well used to strobes. I've been looking at them for about 10 years, so I don't actually notice them anymore.
I wish I could tell you that. So what exactly were you doing on stage? It was like you were like lying down almost with this weird little computer and some twiddling some knobs. What were you actually doing?
Like,
to hear that? So what
like, look
exactly
at my
were you
fucking
doing on
guy
stage?
here.
It was like you were like lying down.
My guy's fucking performing on stage, like, as a sequencer, as a synth and everything on the floor. It's called Stacy's Mom, duh. Yeah, sorry. As fucking sequencer and synth on the floor. He's like on his stomach. He's fucking waving his goddamn feet. Like,
down almost with this
amazing.
weird little computer
Amazing.
and some twiddling some knobs. What were you actually doing?
Relaxing. Just making myself comfortable doing my
Smoking
music.
cigars and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it was quite a mad set. Bodybuilders, the lot. So what's actually, apart from this one you've just done, what was your last live gig?
About 3 years ago. Yeah, it's ages ago. I was well stressed out doing this one, so I'd forgotten how to do it almost. So
Wow, so what do you think now that you've done it?
that's brilliant. Really liked it. Yeah, it's ace.
Brilliant.
It's a DOS.
He's just like, just doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm gonna lay on my stomach on stage. We're just gonna perform this. I'm gonna have bodybuilders. I'm gonna have goddamn. I'm gonna have bears fighting each other on stage. Amazing. Like, in this, and he inspired, like, just don't give a fuck attitude, and like being so isolated, being separated from everything. It just gave him permission to like be creative and like break the boxes of what electronic music were at the time. You know, like I was talking about earlier, it was taboo to like have your face on a techno album cover in the mid 90s, you know what I mean? But fucking Richard popping his face on every single album cover just to be like, you know, fuck you. Like, there are no rules here. It's not that serious. And I imagine also like a lot of performers that came after like saw interviews like this and were like, electronic music can be whatever the fuck I want. No, I figured it out, Soothe. It's absurdist and you're I get that. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, I mean, here's the thing. He's not even, like, making a statement or anything like that. You know what I mean? He's not going to be like, I'm going to do the most absurd thing. It's just like, this is, like, I want to do this, and the rules against it are kind of silly. Like, why can't I fucking lay on my stomach and make music live this way? Why can't I, you know, fucking have bodybuilders and, like, pandas on stage? Why can't I? Ooh, good for her. Shit.
Are you going to do any more gigs now? You got the taste for it, or?
Yeah, definitely. I've got to like hire a ship and gonna like sail around Britain and like dock in all the ports and then sail it across the channel and like play in all the ports in Europe.
Really?
Like, yeah, gonna have
So
like
what-
a flag and everything.
That is well cool. We got to go and film that for sure. So, tell me a little bit. I mean, first of all, your name, Aphex Twin. Is there a meaning behind it?
Yeah, but can't be bothered to explain it.
Right.
It's too complicated.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's just stick to
Sorry
that.
for the sound quality on this.
You make like a lot of your own instruments and wire them up and stuff. What do I mean? I find it quite hard to imagine. What exactly do you make? Is that you manufacture your own instruments? What?
I just gotta say that this is such a good interview, because Richard is like notoriously hard to interview because he's like always trolling and, you know, making jokes and things like that. I don't remember her name, but she's such a good fucking interviewer, because she like gets on the level of the artist and just like sits down, laughs with them, like makes them feel comfortable, and just like gets on their level and like, you know, lets them talk and like asks good questions. It's awesome. I love Gen Z, and I also love absurdism. Absurd isn't always pretentious. He's just being authentic and asking why the fuck not. Yeah.
What kind of stuff is that?
Well, I used to like just make like the odd boxes.
Yeah, I identify as Gen Z because I have more aspects that like put me into Gen Z than I do a millennial, but I'm technically like a cusper. Like, think it's like 1997 to 2001. I was born in 97. So, but yeah, just like the major fucking it's like the major distrust of the system, the being like born essentially on the internet, and hold on, I'm actually gonna look this up. It's been a while since I looked this up. Qualities of Gen Z. And you could take this with a grain of salt, but it's just when I was looking up like what are the, you know, identifying principles compared to Gen Z and compared to millennials, like Gen Z fit me a lot more. Diversity is their normal. I'm white, so that doesn't really it's just, I'm not really helping there. They are first digital natives. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, like I remember going outside and shit like that, and I wasn't given an iPad from birth or anything like that. So I guess that pushes me like towards the millennials a little bit. But like most of my life was shaped by the internet, and most of my time was spent on the internet, just like looking up random shit. And it got me to where I am today. Pragmatic and financially minded. Yeah, this was something that really stuck out to me. I think it's interesting actually, because I think people who were like born around my time, who were working class, identify more with this, because the financially minded part, it comes from the fact that like you have to be, comes from the fact that you can't just like work a fucking minimum wage job for 40 hours and then be able to afford a house in like 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's been trending downward like that for a while, but like this particular generation, at least in my country, got really fucked when it comes to that. So they had to be very financially minded because they didn't want to, you know, make the same financial mistakes of the generation that came before it, of the generation. Yeah, it's just Gen Z is like much more likely to reject that idea of like, you know, you got to get a house, you got to have kids, you got to like move in, you got to get married by 27. They're just like so likely to reject all those ideas. Whereas the millennials, like and like every person's different, right? Like, but I feel like the millennials still had like some faith in the system, because like they were raised by people who, you know, the system worked for them. So millennials were like the first generation that got fucked, but they still kind of believe in the system in a weird way. Whereas Gen Z is just like, nah, fuck this all. Yeah. Yeah, we're digital proficient or dependent, and you're digital natives. You haven't You have the natural fuck you of every generation when they're more young, but more access to information, the resources to act out when you're pissed. Millennials were pissed too, but we're giving up and focused on surviving and maintaining what we have. Yeah, no, that's fair. And I wonder if when the millennials were coming of age, there would have been more solidarity and more push to do things if they were like more connected and more aware of the shit that's going on all the time. I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but it's interesting. And also, as bad as it sounds, like I try to fight this every single day within myself as much as I can. As bad as it sounds, when a lot of people get older, they see the things that they can't do. And I mean, when you see the things that you can't do, like you can't fix the entire system all by yourself. You can't like, make these big changes and reforms that need to be made all by yourself. Like for a lot of people, that just turns into, well, I can't do anything, so I might as well just like, say fuck all and just try to make the best life that I can, which it's fine. I get it, but that's only like one direction to go. You know what I mean? There's like having that realization and then being like, well, fuck it, nothing matters. I might as well just focus on my own life and make it as happy as I can. That's only one direction you go, and that's not like the ultimate conclusion. Like you can have the epiphany that like there's a lot to change and I can't do it all by myself, but instead of just like giving up and choosing to do nothing and just focus on my life because this is all like really really difficult and there's no guarantee it's going to work anyway. Like instead of that, you just pick one thing to focus on and one thing to like really spend your time and energy on and get more people on board. And even if you can make things like 5% better, I think that's worth it. I think that's worth it. But that's a hard thing to do, right? Because like, say you're like giving time to like an organization you really believe in, or just like a movement that you really believe in, right? And then like no laws come about it, no policy comes about it, no nothing comes about it. Then it's like, why the fuck did I spend all that time? You know what I mean? It's like I get that. I get that on a very deep level, but you have to keep moving in whatever little way that you can. Like you can't just say fuck all and do nothing, at least in my opinion. And I'm getting older now, and like I see how easy it is to fall into that, and I see why people who were so like idealistic and so hold on, let me change scenes. See people who were like so idealistic and so just like ready to change everything when they're younger lose that when they're older. A lot of that comes down to the fact that like a lot of this progress like takes time, and you may only move the needle a little bit, but even if you move the needle a little bit, we're still 5% better than where we are before. And a lot of people call me naive. A lot of people say I need to get real and say that there's nothing we can do about the system. And I embarrass those people, because it's those types of people that, stood on the sidelines when the Civil Rights Act, when, all the civil rights protests was happening, when women's suffrage was being protested for, when the Vietnam War was being protested, when all these things were happening. The people who were like, you're you need to be real and realize that you can't change shit and just give up. Like, those weren't the people that were in the protests. Those weren't the people that were in the march. And sure, sometimes it takes a lot of work to get like 5%, but wouldn't you rather be proud of that 5% than just then I don't know, giving into hopelessness? I mean, that's a really hard thing to, contend with. It's a really hard thing to contend with. It's a really hard thing to think about. It's a really hard thing to conceptualize, spending your life doing that. So I feel you. I feel you, and I feel what millennials have gone through in that respect. Um, Gen Z's major event is the panty. Ours is both. Well, I don't know if the 2008 financial recession affected you where you were at, but that was a pretty big event for Gen Z because of the fact that like their families had to go through it, and their and they had to experience that in a certain way. Obviously, not as much as the millennials, but yeah, that I mean, that was something that affected them, even if it wasn't like directly at the time. It affected their family, and so it affected their like prospects down the line. Yeah, I think like a rough cutoff point that they give whoever the fuck they is, um, that is given for the cutoff between like Gen Z and millennials is that if you remember 9/11. I don't remember 9/11, so I get stuffed into Gen Z a lot of the times. But according to my age, like I'm a cusper, and I'm like an older cusper too, so I should remember it, but I don't. Um, so you can take that with you. You're putting a lot of great comments in here, Danny. I have to read them. Okay. Yeah, we're digital proficient or dependent, and you're digital natives. Okay, we read that. I don't think we had faith in the system because I don't think we had faith in the system because it was failing us. And when we complained, we were called crybabies. Yes, we were raised being told that college was the only path. We were colossal fuck ups if we can't hack it, and people wonder why we need so much therapy. Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. Fuck me, god damn it. This camera is so finicky, so finicky. What was I? College is the only path, and we're colossal fuck ups if we can't hack it. Yeah. No, all of that. And I actually sympathize with people in the millennial generation a lot because of that, crybaby mentality, right? Because like we weren't so like interconnected and everything yet. You know, the only people whose judgment we were like really exposed to, well, not me, but like the millennials were really exposed to were just like their their boomer parents, you know what I mean? Whereas, now with Gen Z, like, we have access to fucking revolutionaries, anarchists, socialists, like like all within a simple Google search, all within a fucking simple Discord chat, like all this shit. So, if you want to speak out before, you were called crybabies by the boomer parents. Whereas now with Gen Z, and I think this is a really good thing, whereas now with Gen Z, like you can find people who are just as disillusioned as you and then really, really do something about that. I think Gen Z has a problem with trying to solve too many things. I think there is a real, like, the political will is there and the political attention is there. I think the real problem though is the fact that, especially if you're like on Twitter constantly, if you're on Instagram constantly, you're seeing awful thing after awful thing. Well, that awful thing is going to last for like a week and then you're going to move on to the next thing. There was no like actual progress made. So I think it's really good that the things are like coming to our attention, but eventually it just turns into a game of like entertainment. It doesn't turn into a game of like, well, I know this thing, so now I'm going to do about it. It just turns into like, did you hear about this bad thing? Next week, oh, did you hear about this other bad thing? And then it turns into like a news story that we can like kind of entertain ourselves with from, the comfort of our own homes and shit like that. So yeah, I think that's like the big hurdle for my generation is the actually like picking one thing. And I guess it doesn't have to be one thing necessarily, but it's just like picking one thing or a small subset of things like as an individual to focus on, to make progress on, and then just go for it. Like that's what we need. We need the focus. We need to focus. Because like how we get our news through Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff, like they thrive on having our attention. They thrive on like activating the monkey brain, you know what I mean? They thrive on that. But they don't thrive on like showing us solutions or showing us organizations that we can work for, because it doesn't fire off the the monkey brain. Like when you're working to achieve something, like every day is not going to be like, oh wow, I'm doing such a great thing. Like there are going to be some days it's like, why the fuck am I even doing this? Why am I wasting my time? Like nobody is listening to me. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to do that. And that's why it's even more important to have people focusing on specific things, because when you get into that place, the more people you have doing it, the more like will you can see behind it, and the more like resources you have to go to when you're feeling stressed about that. So I mean, that's my wish for Gen Z, because like they definitely like my generation wants to burn everything the fuck down, and I don't blame them one bit. But it's just like, what exactly are we gonna burn down? You know what I mean? What exactly are we gonna burn down? Because we can have like a riot in a city and like, you know, burn down a bank, burn down a government institution, burn down all that, but like they're just gonna rebuild it. You know what I mean? Like what are we really trying to burn down? Like what are we really trying to get to the heart of? And it doesn't need to have one answer. It can have an answer for you know, every single thing. But the problem is right now we have like generalized hatred towards the system, and we have generalized hatred towards everything that's going on. We need to take that generalized hatred and, you know, make it specific. And that's why like a few streams ago, I was talking about how to plant a tree, how to just like do a simple thing like plant a tree. And I showed you a organization that is planting trees in the Amazon right now. That's one thing. Focus on that. Do that. I'm giving money to them every single month. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, Soothe is so fucking Soothe is so cool. Like, wow, I want to suck his dick, like, because he's giving money to something. Like, no. Like, it's more just like focusing on one thing is much more productive than worrying about everything. That's all I'm trying to say. And that is my wish for Gen Z, because the political will is definitely there. It just needs to translate into working with actual organizations and, you know, mutual aid action on the ground to like actually get that done. And look, I'm a hypocrite too. Like I say all this from my very, very cozy home. You know what I mean? I don't have to go through all the shit that, like, you know, a black person born in a segregated neighborhood of Chicago has to go through, that somebody who's like born in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has to go through, right? Like I'm very privileged in that regard. You know what I mean? But like still, at least if we can get the privileged people working on one thing, no matter how small, it can make big fucking ripples, and it can make big fucking waves. Like, it's very easy to feel like the government has control of us, but we're more than them, motherfucker. We're much more than them, motherfucker. And even though our democracy, at least in the US, is very broken and beholden to corporate interest, like, we can still vote. We can still threaten politicians. We can still do a lot of shit that, you know, getting together in big masses. Like you think about the Black Lives Matter protests last year. Like obviously that's been going on since I think it was 2012. Like 2012, the Black Lives Matter protests have been going on, but like nobody really started talking about them until last year. But you know what I mean? Like people are talking about it now. And even though like actual change is slow, that's still a step. That's still the 5% better. You know what I mean? It's just like Black Lives Matter was so powerful and so many people know about it because they were focused on a specific thing, and a lot of people got together and protested against it. And it was on every news station every fucking police station started to get a little afraid, started to shake a little bit, and fucking powerful. If we can have a debate whether, actual policy came about through that, whether it was enough, whether it meant anything. But of course it meant something because it's on the minds of people. And now when something like that happens again, you'll have more people behind it and it'll be more powerful than last time. And again, if you're in the chat and you just think I'm a fucking idealist and the system's not going to change and you want to get doomer pilled, fine. Stay in your nice little cozy, I don't have to do anything because everything's fucked. Stay in that. But I would much rather live a life where I knew that I was doing something to make the world a little bit better, even 5% better than, looking 30 years down the line and being like, fuck, I could have done something, even if it was small, and I didn't do it because I fucking took the doomer pill. You know what I mean? I love just the ooh woo in the middle of all the things Danny posted. That's great. Yes, when you have a kid and you need to survive, it's hard to change. Like in Russia, the older are like, no, why would you riot when the government will take your children and grandchildren away from you? That's a really good point as well. Like younger people, they have a lot less to lose. And a lot less to, they're willing to fucking go to jail. You know what I mean? But it's just like, if you're a parent, if you're older, if you have things to look after, if you have people that you need to, attend to, then like, it's going to be much harder to go out there because like, you can't get arrested for political crimes. You got a fucking, you got a kid to take care of. You can't go out there and do that. Like, but even though it's harder, like I want to push people that are parents to at least like donate to an organization, to at least like volunteer once a week, to at least like do those things. Like I don't care if the thing you're doing is like so small, is so minute. I'd rather you be doing the small, minute thing than listening to these fucking doomers who think that everything is just going to shit and that we can't do nothing. Everything may be going to shit, but it's just the doing nothing part that I have a real problem with, as you can see. One reason all tend to be more conservative as we age is because we have more to lose. That's interesting. That's interesting. I haven't thought about it that way. It's interesting also because people who are a lot more conservative tend to rank higher on what is it? Tend to rank higher on fear of the unknown and are very invested and are just like very obsessed with like safety and are very obsessed with like keeping outsiders out and just like trying to protect what they have. So that actually checks out with what you're saying. It doesn't mean that when you have kids, like you'll immediately get more conservative. No, but that does check out if you're like overly concerned about safety, overly concerned with keeping dangerous people away, overly concerned with just maintaining what you have. That is something that tends to lead to more conservative ideals. Like conservatives are very, very scared people a lot of the time. Like they may come off as like very like very bravado-esque. But like they're very scared. It's a reason why they don't want to let, and of course I'm like painting them with a broad brush. But like there's a reason why conservatism tends to be linked with not letting immigrants in, tends to be linked with like a, stronger police state, tends to be linked with, just keeping outsiders out. It's because of that. It's because of a fear of losing what you have and needing to maintain what you have. 2008, yeah, that's a good point. I was sheltered from it in Japan, but English teaching will always boom, so yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean that's why I picked up software development, right? Um it's just something that people are always going to need and you're always going to have money there. Um yeah. But I mean 2008, like since we're like away from it now, like we don't necessarily understand the effect of it anymore, but 2008 has like a direct correlation to the wealth inequality that we're seeing right now. It was one of the steps of many. Like it first, like at least in America and the UK, I can't speak for Japan. Japan was doing very different economically in like the 90s, but like at least in the US and the UK, maybe Canada. I don't know how much this affected them. Maybe V can speak better to that. But yeah, it like indirectly led to all the wealth inequality that we have right now, because what happened in the 2008 crisis, at least in America, was that the government that we had bailed out a lot of the banks and continued to give more money to big corporations to, keep them up, to keep them afloat, because God forbid if the banks fail, then everything just turns to shit. Whereas regular people didn't get anything. They maybe got like one stimulus check. Sounds kind of familiar. But yeah, there was that. And, but before that, in the 80s, fucking Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, they were like, trickle down economics works. Don't you want to keep more of your money? Don't you want the pesky government to stay away from your money? And just shit like that. What they did was so genius. Like, I hate them. I'm glad they're both dead. I might want them to rot. But what they did was so genius, because like by the time the like 70s came around, like we had forgotten about World War II. We had forgotten about the Great Depression. We had forgotten about the reasons why social safety nets became a lot stronger in the like 50s and 60s, and why when we talk about boomers, they were able to, buy a house like on 2 years of working on minimum wage. That is because we had the Great Depression and we remembered World War II, and it's like, oh shit, maybe we should actually provide for our people. So the New Deal and then all of that. Once the 80s came around, we were separated enough from that to not have the effects of the Great Depression, not have the effects of World War II on us. So what Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher did was say, it is very simple, very genius. All they said was, hey, do you want to keep more of your money? That's it. That's it. Do you want to keep more of your money? Because the average person didn't understand the reason why their life was, okay, and they were able to like afford a house with a meager salary. They were able to like live an okay life, was because of the social safety nets that we put under them. It was because of that. So by the time the 80s came around and Reagan was like, hey, you want to reduce your taxes and keep more of your money? They were like, hell yeah, let's go. But they didn't realize that was at the expense of the very social safety net that was keeping a lot of the working class afloat. So that was the first step. And then, as time went on, the richest continued to get richer. And then 2008 happened. And then the government was just like freely, giving money, giving stimulus to big fucking businesses because they were still believing in that trickle down economics bullshit. And then and then throughout the 2010s, like wealth inequality fucking skyrocketed. And then we got Bernie Sanders saying that the top 1% own like top 1% own 40% of all the wealth in this country. Like, so that's how it gets us to today. But yeah, this is all to say that just like all of that up to the 2008 crisis, like puts us in the situation we are now. And like all Gen Z has known is just that absolute fucking dumpster fire of wealth inequality, of big corporations just getting fucking money fed to them, and their mother, their father having to, you know, struggle through work in order to get food on the table for them. Like, I'll be honest. There were days, like my mother told me this, came from a working class background. There were days when my mother had to go without eating just so I could eat. Without eating just so I could eat. It's like no stability for the working class. And this was in the 2000s. This was in the 2000s. Even fucking worse now. Like, can't imagine having a fucking kid now if you're working at like a restaurant or a retail job or something like that. Like, holy shit. So yeah, Gen Z's pissed about everything because like they've been born into a dumpster fire of an economy, right? Whereas at the very least, like millennials and Gen Z could at least be like, you know, well, we get to keep more money for ourselves, and I guess if I just work harder, then, you know, I can too become a millionaire. They could at least kind of like, you know, pretend to themselves that was happening because the wealth inequality wasn't like blatant and right in their face. Know what I mean? So yeah, it's a big reason why Gen Z, at least in America, is really pissed. And why I don't remember the statistic, but I think it's like 60% of them have a negative view of capitalism now. Doesn't mean that they're all socialists. Just means that they have a negative view of capitalism. And that's like, and then you go to the baby boomers and it's like 70-30. So yeah. We're a little mad. we're a little tense. Sorry, these were chats that were sent like 20 minutes ago. I apologize. Oh my God, he's talking about dick sucking now. Little smiley face was a good touch. I think if Gen Z wants to be successful, they'll have to stop policing how others do their part and temper their passion with compassion. If you want a peaceful revolution, you have to do a little bit more seeing things from another person's perspective. I mean, yes and no. I think there are some things that need to be called out, and I think there are some things that need to, you know, rightly be shamed as problematic. Like if you're doing some racist, some homophobic, some sexist bullshit, like I think that needs to be called out. But I do agree with you in the we should all be mad. God damn it, this fucking camera again. But it's yes and no, because well, I do think like awful shit should be called out. We should be open to having those conversations. I think where Gen Z fails is in not educating afterwards. They're just like, you know, if somebody says the N-word, if somebody says some homophobic shit, instead of how I think you should go about a situation like that is, you know, just pull the person aside and, you know, be like, hey, what you said is, you know, what you said was kind of hateful, and, you know, here's why, here's how it affects these other people, and, you know, be really nice if you could not, you know, prevent from saying this in the future, maybe communicate what you're saying in a better way. I think that's the proper way to go about it. The problem that Gen Z runs into is they're just like, you know, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, and you've always been a racist and a homophobe, and you're an awful person, and I denounce you, and we're not going to help you at all to get better. And it's like at that point, you're not even, you're not even like trying to make the world a better place for, like, if somebody says the N-word, you're not even trying to like make the world a better place for black people. If somebody says like the F slur or something like that, you're not trying to make the world a better place for the LGBTQ community. You know what I mean? At that point, you're just trying to get like brownie points of, you know. I hate using the word woke because conservative dipshits have made it into some type of slur, but it's just like, yeah, you're trying to get brownie points for how, you know, on the issues you are, instead of actually like doing something to help those issues. Um I'm trying to figure out what to read here. Yes, parents can't get arrested. We have a little more money to donate. Okay, yeah. Yes, when I say, you like my nose? Do you like that? It's one of my best features. Very, very large. Yeah. Okay. Yes, when I say conservatism, I don't necessarily mean Republican. I mean conserving what you have rather than risking change. Yeah. I mean that's the original premise of where conservatism came from, right? Like even as far back as when you're talking about like how British Parliament was set up, it was for people like it was either British or French Parliament, I'm not sure, but it was like literally, you know, people who were trying to conserve the traditional structure. The monarchists were sitting on the left, and people who wanted to make a new one, or sorry, the conservatives, the monarchists, were sitting on the right, and the people who, you know, wanted to change the system and yeah, just change the system in any way they thought made sense. They were, you know, put on the left, and that's how we got like the traditional idea of left wing and right wing because of that. So yeah, there was depression in the 70s. Some say because of Carter's liberalism. So the 80s to the, yeah. I mean that's another thing. The thing. Yeah, I don't think that was Carter's fault though, necessarily. Like, we were coming out of Vietnam, right? We spent like a shitload of money in there, you know what I mean? Then we had Nixon fucking coming out, misusing government funds, and also just like in terms of how the business cycle goes, in terms of how capitalism inherently works, you're going to have recessions, and you're going to have periods of growth. Like that's how that works. That's just a natural thing that's inherent within capitalism. They just the hard turn towards conservatism was as a response to that, sure, but they had the wrong analysis, and they had the wrong solution as well. Like the reason why the depression was so bad is because that's something that's inherent within capitalism, and that's something that's going to happen like every 10 to 15 years. And that wasn't necessarily the fault of Jimmy Carter. It's the fault of just the system that he's living under. But the appropriate response was not to fucking strip all the social safety nets. But like I said, he was genius because of the fact that he didn't word it in stripping the social safety nets. You know what I mean? He didn't word it in terms of that. He worded it in terms of, hey, do you want to keep more of your money? That meaning reducing taxes. So they technically do keep more of their money, but that also means that, you know, you have less of a social safety net, which means if a business fires you or something like that, you're fucked. But that was their solution to the incorrect analysis, and that's what happened in the 80s, unfortunately. Yeah. Damn, I just need to sit on my hands, but it's so hard not to respond to what you're saying real time. No, like, fucking fill up the chat. Fill up the chat. Don't let me just talk here. I want to be challenged. I want to hear what y'all are thinking too. 'Cause I can talk forever about this shit, but I'd love to know what you think. This is a conversation. This is not This is not Soothe is right about everything, although I am. Fuck. See, I'm not right about everything because I'm obviously not right about this camera setup. It keeps going out. Oh, God. I love how far off from... I'm going to fucking scream. I love how far off we got from the topic of Aphex Twin. I love how far off we got from this. This is a Soothe stream, baby. This is a Soothe stream. This is what you're going to get. Oh, God. Gen Z should be mad. We should all be mad. Yeah. I don't mean tolerate bigotry. What I'm talking about is Gen Z's tendency to cancel their own with infighting. Yeah. Okay. I think we agree on that. Yeah. Yeah. No, you have to be very careful with it because with the way that a lot of leftists go about like correcting behavior that they see as inappropriate right now, it inadvertently gives a lot of power to the alt-right and gives a lot of power to conservatives because, you know, human beings aren't perfect. They weren't born with like, you know, marks in their fucking head and respect for and like, you know, understanding of systematic racism and shit like that and how certain words contribute to it, right? So for them, you know, they're just saying the N-word, they're saying the F slur or whatever because like that's what they grew up around, and it was never like a we're saying this because we hate gay people or because we want to put down black people. Even if that's not their intention, the word still does that because somebody else hears that and then it gets normalized, then, you know, it puts down people in that way. But the reason why I'm saying this is because you take somebody who comes from that background and then they like say the N-word, say the F slur or whatever, but they don't mean it as like demeaning to gay people. Like, I hate to use this example, but they'll say like, I have black friends, I have gay friends, I don't hate, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody who's like center of the road, who's not like very, you know, enveloped in these issues. Like I might be, like some of you in the chat might be, if you're following me, you probably are. But somebody who's just like, you know, hasn't really given a lot of thought to things like this. We always get so far from music, and I'm at least partly responsible. It's okay. It's all right. I mean, to me, this is a lot more interesting, and this is a lot more engaging. As much as I love music, it's very hard to be like something that you sit down and watch. You know what I mean? Like and I'll get back to my point. Like when I come on Twitch, it's very rare that I go to the music streamers because like I'm not coming to like watch music being made. Like I'll only really do that if I'm like looking to get education from somebody and like maybe improve my music making skills. Like the most I'd want out of a music stream is to like hear a new song or to like have a new song be leaked. And that just might be me. I know it's not like what we're doing. Like we're talking about a video and how it relates to music, but I don't know. I find this more engaging because, like, at the very least, from you 7 people watching, like, your brains are working and they're turned on. You know what I mean? Even if you disagree with me, even if you hate my guts, even if you think I'm like a filthy Antifa sympathizer or whatever, like, your brain is still working. And this is like more engaging than, you know, just looking at a music stream. May not be as chill. It may not be the like chill vibes you're looking for. And I hate to break it to you, but I'm normally not like a chill person. Like this is my mind all the time, even though I might come off as a chill person. But yeah, no, the point I was making was that like somebody who comes from like that middle of the road background is like, you know, not using the N-word or using the F slur in a derogatory way, but it's just because like it's how they grew up, like all their friends were saying it around them. It's just like, you know, if somebody like that gets a following and, you know, then like somebody on Twitter finds out they said the N-word like 3 years back or whatever, or even said it now, even said it in that moment. Like it creates fuel for the alt-right, because what that leftist does is like they will take down the whole human being. They won't condone the action. They will be like, since you did this shitty thing, therefore you are a shitty person. They make like this crazy fucking leap in logic, because, you know, one, it's very easy to do that, and two, you don't have to engage with that anymore. You don't have to engage with that anymore. Like if you, and I don't necessarily recommend doing this for your mental health, but if you like go on to a Twitter thread of somebody who's like being canceled, or you go onto a Twitter thread of like a controversial issue that's being talked about, and you try to like comment to somebody like, hey, have you thought about looking at it this way? It'll just be like, just hardline stance. You're disagreeing with this? You must be a racist. You must be a homophobe. You must be this. And it's like, whoa. And it's like, I understand where that's coming from as a leftist. Like racism, homophobia, sexism, these are still things that are very prevalent in our society, and we can't take like a soft stance against it. But when you denounce a like whole ass person, and oh yeah, the other reason too is like when you denounce the person instead of the action, you don't have to talk to him further. Because it's like, because if you denounce the whole person, then you don't have to like create further clarification of what the person needs to do to improve. It's like, you said the N-word, so therefore you're gone. You're done. You're done. That's it. And again, like, I'm a leftist. I understand these things. I understand where it's coming from. And I still think we should call this shit out when it happens. Like I think Twitter, like, calling out, like, you know, people have sexually assaulted women. People have, like, ardently been racist and shit like that. Those people should be called out. But like even they, I think, should be taken aside and being like, hey, this is pretty fucked up, and here's why it's fucked up. Please don't do it in the future, you know? Like, yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, right? And it gives fuel to the alt-right, because of the fact that even though the intention behind calling out that action was good, the person who got canceled is not going to be open to those ideas because they got closed down, because you weren't coming to them as a person with ideas. You weren't coming towards them with a person who might not be educated in these topics. Bye, V. When do you... Oh, shit, it's fucking 8:30 already. Okay. V, when do you start? I'll drop everybody off over to you. Unless you're starting now. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna keep talking, and if you're streaming, you're streaming. Fuck, what was I saying? Yeah, it gives fuel to the alt-right, because those people who, like, you know, got denounced as an awful person instead of it got denounced as an awful person. Okay, thank you for lurking. Who got denounced as an awful person, like, you know, they're going to be more open to like alt-right ideologies where they're saying just like, oh yeah, these leftist SJWs, you know what I mean? Oh, they can't take a joke. Oh, they're so sensitive. You come over here, you can say the N-word as much as you want. You don't want them taking away your free speech. And it's like the problem wasn't addressed. The problem is actually worse now. Because now that person that you fucking canceled and didn't actually say why what they're doing is harmful, now that person is in a bunch of alt-right shit and might potentially become more racist, more homophobic, more sexist. And like that's like so much of what happened, like 2015, 2016, like so much of that fucking YouTube dunking on SJ Warrior stuff, because it's like their intentions are wrong and their message is wrong, but the place that they're coming from to attract these people who otherwise might not be open to that ideology is correct, because the left wasn't coming about educating people on these issues in a way that is in a way that helps people learn. It's a way to, feel vindicated in your opinion. So that's my that's my thought on that. But yeah, we also gotta remember too. I mean, I'm very much on Twitter. So, like, I know the ins and outs in it and how it works. But we got to understand that, like, 1% of the population, like, at least the U.S. population, like, 1% of the U.S. population, like, is on Twitter. Like, it's like maybe moving the needle for that 1%, but like in terms of the grander scheme of politics, like a bunch of Zoomers on Twitter is only going to go so far. Like you can't stop there. You gotta like actually be going out, volunteering for organizations, doing mutual aid, fucking giving money to causes you care about, shit like that. It can't just stop at Twitter. God. I don't know how I don't lose my voice during these streams. I really don't. See, this is why I stream only 2 times a week. Because if I did this shit every single day, 1, y'all would get tired of me real quick. But 2, I would exhaust myself. I'm just reading the chat that I missed while I was ranting. I hope there are conservatives lurking, because that shows they want to hear other perspective, and everyone, us included, needs to hear other perspective. Yes, we cannibalize ourselves with cancel culture. Yeah, I mean, I hope there's conservatives in here too. I mean, like, if you listen to all that, you probably know my bias and you probably know where I stand on a bunch of things. But as long as you're not like super fucking down the alt-right rabbit hole and are not willing to listen to anything, as long as you're not that, like, I'm happy to talk with you. I might get frustrated because like I'm very like in my ideals, and I'm like very passionate about it, but that doesn't mean I don't want to like hear from conservatives. I will just get very mad when I'm talking with them, because I feel what I'm saying like very intensely. But that's like something I need to work on. I get it. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm teaching and streaming at the same time. When I was doing theater, I would lose my voice. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I gotta remember to take care of my voice. I guess it's good because I don't work a job like outside of this that involves me talking a lot, like software development. I mean, for software development, like I just have to talk to my clients. Like that's it. And even times it doesn't even have to be like a video call where I'm using my voice. I can just be like, you know what I mean? So, but I hope your voice stays well. I mean, yeah, I mean, outside of the things you already know, like give it rest where you can and drink tea. Gastrointestinal issues, again, like I'm saying, hot people have gastrointestinal issues. It's just, it just comes with the looks. Okay. But no, I hope you take care of your voice. Just, drink. What helps me is drinking a lot of tea. like a shitload of fucking tea. I don't drink tea normally. That's the only time I drink tea is when I like actively need to use my voice. So yeah, that's when I would do it, and that's what I would recommend. But I'm sure you already know that. I'm not about to mansplain losing your voice to you. Okay. Oh, I know how we fucking got here. Okay. So we were talking about Gen Z. Okay. I was probably talking about being mad at something, and then I was looking up what Gen Z had, and then I was talking about financially minded, and then it got into all. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. I'm not. Essentially, like what it was saying about, I know you can't see it right now. I'm reading it. Essentially, what it was saying about Gen Z is that like they're digital natives. They're more politically progressive. This shrewd consumer thing is interesting though. What do they mean by that? As consumers, Gen Z behaviors reflects their values and influence of an increasingly digital world. Gen Z kids can rely on their tech savvy and extensive social networks to make informed purchasing decisions. Their pragmatism leads them to explore and evaluate a range of options before settling on a product. Oh, okay, I get you. Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm scared of money. Like I'm terrified of money. Like like I'm terrified of just spending money. And a large part of that has to do with the fact that like I grew up in a working class environment where money wasn't always there. So I'm just like super scared, just super terrified of just losing all of that. You know what I mean? And it's not good for me. It's really not. So I set myself a rule that if a thing is less than $50 and you want it, go for it. Go for it. If it's more than $50, then you can analyze it all you want. But if it's less than $50, go for it. Go for it. It's fine. You'll be fine. It's just it's tough, especially with like student loans to pay and all of that. I gotta be like constantly thinking, what's gonna happen, you know? Okay. But anyway, we'll finish this this Aphex Twin little video here because it's really fucking funny, and then we will probably call it there. I did have some music I want to show you, but I think everybody's at VStream right now, so so we'll just finish this and I'll drop you off over there.
Do sort of effects and stuff like that, but now it's just all with computers and stuff. So I just get like write some programs and stuff, but I get like some friends off the internet that help me out, like writing software and that. So I get a lot of people to do it for me these days, which is well lucky.
So are you a bit of a nethead as well then?
Some friends off the internet.
Okay, wait. This is what I wanted to fucking see. This is the most 1996 thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. This what is about to happen here.
Internet that help me out, like writing software and that. So I get a lot of people to do it for me these days, which is well lucky.
So are you a bit of a nethead as well then?
Yeah, wicked. I love it. Can't get off it.
So you're a bit of a nethead then? Yeah, it's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's decent.
You've got like, at any given time, you've got about 150 hours of music in the can, kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
Is that
definitely.
true?
Yeah, well, you know, that's practically all what I do every day, just make music. So just got loads of it.
So what's going to happen? I mean, is it kind of going to stay there? Is there lots of stuff that you think, nah, no, I don't want to release it, or do you think it's all going to come out one day?
No, it'll never all come out. It's too much. So it's just whatever. I don't know. I usually get friends to decide what I put out. So
what about, because on the remixing front, your remix often, I mean, they don't seem to have anything to do with the original. And is it also true, that story with the Lemonheads, that you actually kind of bashed out the remix while the bike courier was waiting for it? Is that all true?
This interviewer is so fucking good. she did her research. She like knows the deep stuff about Richard and like what he's done, and this is just such a good interview. Like I love it for the fucking, so I guess you're a little bit of a nethead type thing, but like this is, she's just such a good interviewer.
Do it while he was there. I completely forgot I had to do it, and it, you know, he was rang the doorbell, and I was like, oh shit, I haven't done it. So I just like went and like looked through all my DATs and gave him a track basically in about 10 minutes and taped it off.
Just one of those 150 hours worth of music, so it does come in handy one day.
Yeah, I didn't use it anyway, so but I still got paid, so that was cool.
So what did
I feel that a lot. I feel that a lot. I have so much music that y'all are never gonna fucking hear. You're never gonna fucking hear. God, as like, unless you're a musician, it's like it's easy to forget that like the stuff that you hear on albums, that the stuff that you hear on the stuff that you hear on albums and the stuff that you hear on God, why am I blanking? Just like the stuff that's released officially, like that's probably like maybe the top 5% of everything that the artist has done like during that period. The other 95%, they were like, no. God damn it, the camera go out again? I gotta fucking... See, the connection is like really, really loose, so every time I like hit the table like that, it goes out. So, is what it is, I guess. That's what it is. Yeah. But yeah, so just like, and I mean, it's not always, but it's not always like 5%, but it's just like that general thing of, you know, it's probably like a very low percentage of like the totality of the work.
People kind of expect it now of you, don't they? When they give you a track, but they kind of know, oh, he's just going to give us a brand new track in return.
Yeah, I thought I'd probably, because I wasn't really into doing it, but people like offer me to do them all the time, still like more than ever. So
yeah.
You must be doing something right, I suppose.
And what about Mike Flower Pops? What does he think of the remix you done for him?
Where did it what? Sorry.
You did a remix
yeah.
for Mike Flower Pops. What did he think of that?
He loved it, I think.
Yeah.
He's dancing in his living room to it. So.
He's cool.
So much sexual tension here.
And what about because, well, I don't know whether everyone at home knows, but On was actually directed by Jarvis Cocker. That's quite a mad one.
Yeah, I know. He's just a bit of a film head, so in his spare time.
And it's also true that lots of film got lost and they actually had to kind of like loop what they had. Is that true? It is very Jarvis Cocker because he seems to lose everything all the time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know any of this shit here.
There's little looped bits, but it's all pretty fresh, I reckon, all the way through. I really like that video.
Let's go and watch that for a minute. Right, now, on your EP, Boy and Girl, you're actually singing, right, on the Milkman track. Now, is that something you're going to do more?
Yeah. So, yeah, I quite like my voice, actually. I've got into it in the last week, so I think I will. But I'm in...
Okay, the track that I was talking about earlier, with him being like, I'm gonna fuck your mom. I don't remember if it was like, I'm gonna fuck your mom, but it was some, like, lewd lyric, you know what I mean? Milkman. Milkman was the song that I was referring to, so go check that out.
Famous people's voices and, like, mapping it onto my own voice. So you just get this weird, like, mutation voice of, you know, like mine and someone, like, really recognisable. Sounds pretty good.
So basically you're using even voices as instruments and playing around with it and seeing what else you can do with it.
Yeah, I've got like a computer to sing as well. I'd be quite into having a sort of hit with a computer voice, like a character as the main sort of personality.
She is so flirty.
She's got enough ideas.
They definitely fucked after this.
What about you did an advert for Pirelli?
I can't tell. The funniest thing is I can't tell if Richard is nervous or he's just like, you know, being himself.
What's your criteria for that? I mean, when will you do, you know, music for adverts or for films or anything? I mean, is it a money thing or is it a fun? Well, you know, how does this work?
It's like whenever, you know, if someone asks me to do an advert, if I got time, I'll do it basically. I do loads of them, but they never use them because they always can't get their heads around what I've done. And like one of the ones I did a while ago, they just kept sending the DAT back to the record company saying there was something wrong with the DAT, and they sent it back 4 times, and then in the end they realised that's what it was supposed to sound like. They thought their DAT had broken.
Those kind of people just have no idea, do they? They just go, oh yeah, that name, I heard of that name, yeah, cool, yeah, cool, let's get him. Oh gosh. I don't know. So, is it true, by the way? Is it true that your neighbours are trying to evict you?
Yeah, they all hate us. They just make too much noise for our roads, basically, and they've just started a hate campaign against us, and they're throwing rocks through our window and putting posters up in the street, and getting people to phone up the council and complain about us and stuff.
Well, they must think you're a bit odd. Also, you've got a tank, haven't you? Have you still got that tank?
Yeah.
Do you drive through the road with that as well, going, if you come to my house once more, I'm going to shoot yours down?
Tank.
No, I keep the tank in Wales, so don't bring it down my road.
It'd be cool though. Why don't you do it?
I'd love to do it, but just all the kids around my area would just saw them.
He's just so this is what I want to do. Fuck it if nobody else likes it. It's
Machine.
It's an attitude that I love. I'm not as bad as I used to be when I was younger, but I used to be such a people pleaser and never did anything for myself. And even now, when I see the viewer count go up and down, I feel like I need to adjust my demeanor, or I need to do something different. He just doesn't give a fuck. He's just I'm gonna go buy a tank. I'm gonna go buy a tank.
Gun off first day, and they'd probably use it because it works.
No.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Imagine being at an Aphex show in 1996 on acid. Just imagine.
New album, Rich D. James. It's partly dedicated to your deceased brother, and it's also got a picture of his grave on there, hasn't it? I mean, how do you feel? Because often you see with people who have got a family member dying that they kind of, they don't want to talk about it, or that, they kind of feel awkward about it. Is that very different for you? Because it's a very public thing they're actually doing with it.
Yeah, it's just, I've always felt guilty because my mum, named me after him after he died because she didn't want to, acknowledge the fact that he, died, so I always felt guilty that I nicked his identity, and all I've got to remember him by is that photo. So it's a token, good sort of token for me to do, basically.
Yeah. Can you tell a little bit more about the album, about the whole?
That's I don't know if he's not very expressive on his face, you know what I mean? But I can tell that there's a lot of feelings associated with that for him.
The music side of it and stuff.
Yeah, it's actually, the music on it is something I've actually done in the last year, and usually release stuff that's at least 2 or 3 years old. So it's the first sort of album I've put out where it's actually what I've been up to recently, sort of reasonably recently. So.
Yeah. What about musical influences? You got any major musical influences, or you just?
Yeah, I love loads of different music, but it never it inspires me to do my own music, but it never influences me. I don't
I feel that so much. I feel what he's saying there so much.
Copying other people.
The whole reason, like I said earlier in the stream, fucking prehistoric days back before I started this stream up again, I was saying that I just needed to take some time and go back and see what artists were really inspiring me. And I don't want to make music like Aphex Twin. I maybe want to invoke similar feelings that he's doing, but it inspires me to it inspires me to like make something, but not necessarily like make his music.
So I just enjoy people's music because it sounds different, so I wouldn't want to like copy it.
So where do you get your inspiration from? Do you just go in your studio and it just comes out, or?
Well, like recently, just been getting it because I live in a house full of people, so we're always playing loads of good music and stuff. So I've been getting into that, but I want to like go away and be on my own again, like I did when I was growing up. So I just prefer to like be inspired myself, without like taking influences from other people.
It's probably both got good sides.
Yeah, they've definitely both got good sides, but I prefer like listening back to tracks, so I haven't been influenced by other people.
Damn. Some fucking jungle shit here. Aw, thanks, V. Appreciate that. We're gonna drop by your stream right after we finish watching this. I just wanted to finish this. That's so sweet, though.
Now, you also had a mad
So
collaboration
fucking
with
good.
Philip Glass, who did Kwatsi. I don't even know if I say it right. Mad classic film. That's a bit of a mad one. Are you planning on doing any more mad collaborations like that?
Not planning them, I'm sure I'll probably do some.
Yeah.
I never really plan any of them, it's just something that happens, yeah. But I'm sure I'll probably do some, yeah.
Now, he did the score for that film, which is back.
I don't mean anything bad by this because I'm a little bit too. I think now that I'm like watching this interview back again, I think he's a little autistic. And yeah. No, that God, I would have loved to see a Aphex Twin performance like in the 90s. That would have been stellar. But me in the 90s probably would have been a totally different person, and who knows if I would have liked Aphex Twin, so I don't know. We can just enjoy this now. But yeah, I think he's a little bit autistic, just like the I mean, it's hard to tell without seeing more, but just like the lack of eye contact, the lack of expressiveness, really, the kind of disregard for norms and things like that. Yeah, I think he is a little bit, and I don't say that as like a knock or anything like that. Like I've said before, I'm a little bit autistic too. Like as you can probably tell, I get like hyper focused on things and like just get a bunch of knowledge like about a bunch of weird shit. Like for me, that's music, politics, video games, things like that. I'm overstimulated by by like a lot of noise. Like I really need my space and I need nobody to like touch shit in my space. Yeah, I'm not like as like I don't have as much of the social side as what he's giving off, but it's interesting. It's also cool to see somebody who's autistic make assuming that he is. I may be totally reading this wrong, but if he is, like seeing somebody who's that like making all this cool music, amazing.
Back in the 70s or something. Now, you did the music for Stacker Westworld, did you? What was your involvement with this film, actually?
Well, they did the music for my music. Like afterwards, I didn't write it to their stuff, but yeah, they just took my music and fucked it up, all the images, and, you know, made something, I don't know, don't really like it actually.
Well, we're going to show, because I've actually been told that in some ways it's like a 90s techno version of that kind of quartzy kind of. I don't know. Well,
I don't know. It's all right. Yeah, it's just like it's not really. It would have been wicked.
And I mean, you can see it even clearer with like the differences in how they're interacting with each other. Like Richard is like continuing to look forward, not really make eye contact, except for some points, not really like reacting to anything. He's like laughing at points, but you can see just the difference in body language here.
Like 10 years ago, but it's just a bit sort of dated. But it's a laugh.
yeah.
If you think about it, about being amusing, then it's good.
Right. So keep that in mind. One other thing. What about your fans? Do you get any like really insane fan letters and stuff? What kind of fans have you got?
Yeah, they're all pretty weird fans, I reckon. Don't know. No, a lot of them are like just really interested and want to know like how to do things themselves. But do get quite a few sort of odd letters, and like I've got a few stalkers recently as well, which has been really freaky.
Ooh.
Oh yikes!
Yeah.
You gotta watch out, especially with that like that Bjork story with that bomb being sent to her and stuff.
Yeah.
Not good.
Bjork's been through some fucking shit.
Quite scary.
You should look up what she's referring to, because that was fucking scary. Like that's scary. Bjork has been through a lot of shit. She's also trained in media. He's quite new to it as an artist. Well, I mean, even with the exception of that, like this isn't a media thing. Like, you know, when people talk to each other, and I don't want to use the word normal, but like, when people who aren't artistic talk to each other, like there's eye contact, there's like, you know, appropriate emotional responses. And there's like there's kind of like a give and take, you know what I mean? But yeah, she's trained in media. I mean, that's definitely a thing. Yeah. And again, I could be wrong. I could be totally fucking reading this wrong. I just kind of want it to be true a little bit so that I could have a little inspiration for myself. It's a purely selfish thing.
Being scared, basically. But then it's a bit, I don't know where you sort of draw the line. But I can't really turn it off anyway, so I may as well get into it.
So what do you do? I mean, because I've had a few kind of, well, funny people coming to MTV and doing funny things. But what do you actually? I mean, what do you do when you get a stalker? You meet him or her. What do you do? I never know what to do. I just have no idea whether I should actually.
Also, the squeezing of the leg is kind of telling. It's just like a certain comfort in an uncomfortable situation. Again, I can't really tell if he's nervous or not, but assuming that everything else I said, check out the like kind of squeezing of his leg that he's doing there. It's like a comfort thing. So, again, I could be wrong. I could be picking up on this wrong.
Talk to them, talk them out of their ideas, or just ignore it. What do you do?
Well, like the last one, I don't know. It's a difference. It's different between like people coming up to you, like when they actually like follow you like back to your house and stuff. It's like, you know, if they're following you around sort of town or whatever, it's all right. But it just gets a bit weird when they like follow you all the way home.
Yeah.
But the last one, I just like caught him doing it basically, and he just like ran off. Like when he noticed, I noticed he was there. So
that was the end.
Yeah.
At least no bombs there. Oh, that's pretty cool. What about?
Like, I don't know if you noticed that, but like when he was talking about his stalker, something that, you know, would be kind of a lot to talk about. You notice how the thing he's doing with his leg like kind of speeds up in intensity.
Like when he noticed, I noticed he was there. So
that was the end.
Yeah.
At least no bombs there. Oh, that's pretty cool. What about your reflex?
Sorry, I don't mean to pick apart every aspect of his body language, but
what's happening with that at the moment?
It's going really mad. Like just started to sell like loads of records, which is a bit freaky because it only was supposed to be like a small thing. But it's sort of going big time now, and it's a bit weird to sort of deal with it really, because I don't know. I always thought the music that we were into should like sell like shitloads of copies, but never actually thought it would. So it's a bit weird to deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting loads of really wicked tapes like, all the time, like loads of new records. And, yeah, it's brilliant.
Cool. So what's it like being on Warp? Because that seems like a very cool label to me, and I've heard of a lot of people at MTV as well that they're really cool people to deal with.
Yeah, they're just like, you know, it's not like a business sort of thing. It's just more like friends, just like doing my own label really. Like, you know, it's quite a lot more business-like, but it's just, yeah, it's all really good fun. I really enjoy working with them, and I was like, you know, a big fan of their old sort of first records, so I was just like.
Warp is a really cool fucking label, by the way. I think they have they currently have actually let's look at their roster, because they have a lot of cool people on there. Obviously, Aphex Twin is one of them, but yeah, Aphex Twin, Autechre, Battles, Boards of Canada, Brian Eno, Danny fucking Brown, like Kalea's fucking amazing. Flylo, like this is just a amazing label. Mount Kimby makes some beautiful stuff as well. One O Tricks Point Never, absolutely some of the most beautiful ambient things ambient music I've ever heard, ambient and outside. Like, this label is incredible. If you want to find some like new music to listen to, I can't recommend, you know, going through Warp's catalog enough. And even if you want to go back into the artists that aren't even there anymore, you know, Square, hold on, reset, this is bad. Web Design, yeah, AFX is good. Yeah, just like a bunch of shit here. There may be people that you know that you see on here, you know what I mean. Clark makes some really fucking powerful music. Love that. You know, and Hyde, you know what I mean. Gang Gang Dance, I knew Gang Gang Dance was on there. Oh god, this is just a very good, very amazing label. Oh, this interview's almost done. Brian Eno, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, no, Warp, I mean, if like Aphex Twin, who's like kinda towards people to begin with, yeah, he's not like, I don't know, he's not like you know, antisocial necessarily. He just thinks like a lot of the things that people do are just like kind of weird and unnecessary. If he thinks that like this is a good label and he enjoys working with these people, then there must be doing some right. So yeah, check out their catalog, check out the people on it. Amazing. Yeah, you can't unsee his body language now, right? I didn't notice it before. Now that I'm like actually watching this, I can see like the little things that he's doing and like figuring it out. And again, I could be wrong, I could be off base. This is one interview of a guy who could have been going through like millions of different things all at once, you know what I mean? But yeah, Brian Eno's on there. Yeah, amazing label.
Like chuffed to be on the label sort of thing. To have purple record sleeves as well. Well, ace.
They are cool. Did you actually do that Mad Pac-Man track ages ago? Was that you?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, I did it so that's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
That's like earning me a living in London.
Oh, I forgot. The reason why like he initially got popular was not actually. Oh, hello. Who's that? Haas. Oh my god. Haas, you gotta stop. Haas, you gotta stop. Look at this fucking bot here. You see this? I mean, look, dog. If you want to get me to affiliate, Haas, I'll take that. I'm gonna have to delete those later. Okay. Anyway, what the fuck is going on? Haas, what are you doing? Are you spelling something out? Church, noise, reach, trouble, plug, receptive? That means nothing to me. Oh my god. No, this is definitely a bot. Like this is a bot with the same exact name. Has followed me multiple times. A Freddie Larkage account is doing this as well. I mean, look, here's the thing. If this gets me to fucking affiliate, and then I just delete all the follows afterwards, but still keep affiliate, that works for me. I will, you know, I will give the bot this this allowance. All right, last 4 seconds. Let's go.
But yeah, it's me.
But yeah, it's me. Think we can all agree on that. Okay. All right. Back here. So we're gonna go see V. I don't know. Well, I mean, I can still technically raid. I just don't have enough people for Twitch to like count it as a raid at the moment. But that's okay. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for sticking around for like the fucking 4 to 5 hours I have been doing this. It's a lot of time. Okay, but anyway, we're gonna go see V. Gonna leave you off there. Thank you all for like engaging in the chat and just like talking with me, even when I go on like political tangents, like I often do. I appreciate that immensely, and I appreciate your continued support. I did have some music that I wanted to show you, but I will show you that. I don't know if I'm going to do that next stream because that's like the gaming stream. It's either going to be Wednesday or Saturday. I have a song that I'm working on that I really enjoy. Yeah. We're going to go raid V. Okay. All right. Holy shit. How did she get 616 viewers? What happened? Not that that's a bad thing, not at all, but holy fuck. I'm happy for her. Holy shit. Damn. All right, we're going to start the raid. Holy fuck. I'm going to have to ask her about that later. That's crazy. All right. Okay. Have fun, y'all. Behave. And support our friend V. All right? Love ya. See you soon.